on everybody and welcome to the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Cup. We're here in the final and fourth week. My name is Matt Smite Ross and I missed him so much I thought we'd get Mr. Monkey Matt back in here for the grand final week. Matt, we missed you last week. How was India and how was it to be back?
Yeah, India was an amazing trip. I was over there racing myself, so it was cool to get in the car. Unfortunately missed the last week's round, but it was cool to see Evie do a great job in my place, and I caught up on the racing, great racing again, so I'm super excited to be back and get back into it.
Yeah, it's gone ahead and given us a really nice look at the leaderboard, but before we get into any of that, let's catch you guys up at home to see how the tournament has been working so far, so you know what goes on here on the final week. We found the top 24 races from around the country, and we've been racing them around over 4 weeks, today being the last. And we've been giving them championship points at the very end of every single race. The winning driver, they're taking 24 points, second place 23 points, and so on and so forth. And now we've got a pretty sick looking leaderboard. We've been around the world in a different place every single week. Tonight is going to be no different. We're going to get another 2 tracks from a very familiar location. I'm sure you guys are all ready for that one. But we've also got to talk about what's up for grabs, Matt, as well, because these drivers, well, they don't work for free. They got to get some cash money in their pockets as well. So looking at the prize pool, $1,500 are up for grabs in total. But after tonight, Matt, we're going to find out who's taking home that $700 for first place.
Yeah, it's a big prize on the line, and as you say, it's the last round tonight, so those positions are going to be decided, and all the way down to 6th. They're all in battles as well, so the final 2 races are going to be crucially important.
Oh man, it definitely is. These last 2 races are going to mean so much because take a look at this leaderboard, ladies and gentlemen. It is extremely close between everyone at the top. Right at the very top, you've got Matt Stevens, 125 points, but he's only trailed by 4 points. Dylan Jordan on 121. Ewan Baker even 118 as well. So Matt, I mean, that's just the top 3. Look how close they are.
Yeah, it's a close battle, and to come down to the final round, we couldn't ask for much more. So I'm excited to see how this goes, but unfortunately we are missing a couple of drivers tonight. So Ewan, he's off racing in Monaco actually, so we're not going to see him fight for the title, unfortunately. And Timothy Vaughan in 7th, he's unfortunately got COVID, so he hasn't been well enough to join us tonight. But, you know, I was talking about the top 6, all in battles, you know, down 8, still could try and get into that top 6 and claim spots, claim that prize money.
Yeah, with those drivers out tonight, there's actually a few opportunities for some guys to slip in there and get some prize money. Moving on down the leaderboard though, this is all basically the drivers who just weren't consistently able to grab themselves a good position. I mean, you look around, you see a few. There's Hugo Allen's got some great positions. You know, there's also, of course, you've got Nathan Anderson getting a 20 points in one race. But unfortunately, you know, you miss a race here and there, or, you know, everyone else doesn't go super well. You end up down here at the second half of the leaderboard. So most of the races down there, I believe, are pretty much out of contention for anything in the top 6. But, you know, showing up on the first half of the leaderboard is going to feel pretty great as well. So, Matt, let's move on and let's talk about where we are racing tonight. I said we're going to a new place around the world this week, and I wasn't lying. We're going to Australia. We've got 2 tracks coming in tonight. Phillip Island Circuit, 23 laps of that one, and then Mountain Panorama as our second track tonight, 16 laps. It's Bathurst. Everyone knows this one. It's home to most of us watching here tonight. The racing fans all around Australia, New Zealand love it. So Matt, look, I mean, out of these 2 tracks, I mean, of course you're looking forward to Bathurst, but I mean, tell us about both of these tracks, you know, what are we expecting tonight?
Yeah, these are of course 2 very well-known tracks in the region from the Supercars Championship. So all the drivers, I'm sure, very familiar with what they're going to have in store with them tonight. And the grand finale on Bathurst, that's going to be huge. I can't wait to see the championship. I imagine it's going to go right down to the final race.
I know. Could we finish it any other way than Bathurst? But for now, the penultimate track is going to be Phillip Island Circuit. So again, another familiar one. It might not take the crown like Bathurst, but still a great track nonetheless. So Matt, break this one down for us. You know, are we expecting some tight battles, some long slipstreams? What's the go here?
Oh man, one of the things I was going to say a bit later was we might see people touching the grass and going off, but we're seeing it on the screen already. I think that's Brendan Dove just having a bit of a moment, getting out wide, but so easy to do on this track because it is, you know, surrounded by that grass there, and it's so tempting to push on the exit of a lot of the corners, try and get that extra speed, but you go a little bit too wide and do exactly what he just did, which you can't afford to do in the race. You can get away with it in qualifying, later on tonight, wanting to make sure they don't want to tidy it up, don't make any of those sort of mistakes.
Yep, just to clarify to everyone at home, this is qualifying. That's why you see people doing some sick drifts like this. You know, it's not every lap is going to matter. If you have a doozy, then you can do it again. You're just looking for your best lap time to decide where we're going to be sitting in the grid. It's an important thing, deciding the grid here. But Matt, apart from a few drifts here and there, I mean, are you seeing anything standing out yet? We've been a few minutes in. Most drivers have now actually set a time.
Yeah, we're getting some times on the board. Of course, a 15-minute session, so they have plenty of time when it's only a 1 minute 30 lap time. So all these drivers, they'll set the lap times and then they'll come back into the pits. We've seen it throughout the season, get some fresh tires on, and then go back out again. So as we see the times come in, yeah, they're going to start creeping down by the looks of it. Hugo Allen now jumping to the top ahead of Dean Stewart. So some of the familiar names getting laps in early.
Yeah, and a lot of these names, you got to imagine, you know, if they're in the top 6 or actually really anywhere in the top 12, I think, can be fighting for some cash at this point. Because you look at the bottom of the top 12, I think 11 and 12 is actually Antal, Rafael Sabo, and Brandon Dove. You know, the two drivers who've done fantastic on some tracks, but been hit by the penalty bus incredibly hard on other tracks. So they're actually far down the leaderboard, despite looking like, you know, some of the best races in the competition here. And, you know, as I say that, Sabo sets the fastest lap time on the qualifying track so far. But I mean, you know, for these guys, Matt, have you been in this position before where you've got to push as hard as possible to get these points, to get in the money? What are you doing? Are you going all wild tonight?
Yeah, it's kind of a big decision for some of them. It's going to be interesting because it is a mix. There's some of these guys fighting for the championship. We've got the likes of Matt Stevens, who has been consistent the whole time. I imagine he's just going to have a similar mindset. But then some of the drivers not in the championship who have been doing well, Antal, of course, one of them, you know, he's just going to be pushing all out. He's got nothing to lose tonight. He wants to get some more wins to his name, move up the leaderboard and sort of claim some bragging rights, prove that, you know, he could have been in this championship if it wasn't for, you know, a few moments early on in the season.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how he pulls out tonight, especially later on Bathurst. Phillip Island, though, is also going to be a great one. You know, you can tell he's already set a fantastic time as well. Another driver who we're on board with right now, Michael Healy, very up there in the leaderboard, contesting those top 6 positions, could arguably, depending on the results tonight, even look at somewhere in the top 3. So he's another driver who could be looking to just place literally as high as possible on both tracks and not look for anything consistent, maybe push for some risk, but he'll have things to lose as well, which is another thing that, you know, people are going to be thinking about. Do I take the easy position here for the easy money?
Yeah, we have seen quite a lot of drama throughout the season. We've seen crashes, we've seen mistakes, we've seen people picking up penalties just for, you know, getting those track cuts continuously throughout the race. So all these things are going to be on their mind, and you've got to be wondering, like, is the driver in front going to make a mistake? Is the best option maybe to conserve until the second half of the race and then go for it? That's all going to be playing on the mind. I'm sure they've thought it through ahead of time and sort of got their game plan going into it. But in qualifying, it's not quite as much strategy going on. This is just try and set the quickest lap you can, get yourself in the box seat, getting into the race, and you know, that's going to set you up for tonight, for the whole night. At the moment, it's the two drivers who are not really in championship contention, who are the front two. Will be starting on the front row if it stays as it is. So, you know, that could really be interesting. It seems like top drivers are a little bit more conservative.
I mean, my question for you is, can anyone actually catch Sabo if he retains that pole position in the grid, right? Well, I mean, we've seen it when he gets, you know, P1 or P2, he zooms off and no one ever catches him, right? Maybe Brandon Dove on a few of the older tracks, but, you know, does someone need to beat him in qualifying, is my question.
Yeah, I mean, off the back of last week, it definitely looks that way. He picked up both those wins leading from the front the whole time. So if he can continue that momentum, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for anyone else to get close. We have seen, though, early on in the season, he did make those mistakes, but maybe he's put that behind him. And now really, you know, last week he did make the statement, picked both race wins. If he can continue that, then yeah, full credit to him.
Yeah, and it's also something I was mentioning with people wanting to really push it here on the tracks tonight, because Sabo, like I said, he's like 10th or 11th. I had a look at the possibilities for his points. If he wins both races, Unless some miracle happens and like Matt Stevens gets 2 zeros, there's like no possible way for Sabo to like actually overtake him. So, you know, anything in like first to third's kind of out of reach for him, but fifth and sixth, maybe even fourth, is all actually on the table for Sabo, regardless of like how, you know, unless those drivers do incredibly well, which is a little less likely. So Sabo has got some money up for grabs, but he's going to have to do a little bit of praying and also a little bit of really good driving.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 48 points up for grabs tonight across the 2 races, and he is just looking at it now 23 points away from the 43 points away from the lead. So yeah, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to close that gap to first place. But as you say, could still be aiming for the top 6, and you know, of course, he's a race driver. He wants to go for race wins in every opportunity as well.
Another driver who, you know, I kind of mentioned last week as well. Oh, a speak of the devil as well. He just shot up to number 2 on the grid. Nathan Anderson wasn't actually all that serious to watch last week, where he had a few fumbles. But this week, if he does well, he'll be a menace to watch on the field. You want to look around about the middle of the pack, right? Although you wouldn't think so looking at his qualifying time. He'll be looking for some crazy overtakes and, you know, pushing basically as far as he can up along the pack that he's in. When he gets to the part where, you know, there's a gap between him and the next pack of about, you know, 2-3 seconds, that's where he struggles because he can't close the lap time. But I mean, hey, looking at the qualifying time now, maybe that's something that Anderson's been really working on. So I would keep my eye on him. He's an exciting driver, so, you know, even if he doesn't win, you know, you'll be entertained nonetheless.
Yeah, he's a little bit down overall, but he has shown in previous rounds, first couple of weeks actually, that he could compete with the top group. So keep an eye on it, and particularly if he's qualifying this good, this might be a track that works in his favor. It always, as a driver, you have some tracks that are more to your liking, and maybe even some tracks that you've done more practice on. So particularly coming to Australia, I think we're going to see a lot of drivers really strong on these tracks that, you know, they would have done countless laps, particularly at Bathurst. You know, every sim driver from this region, Australia and New Zealand, they've done 1 million laps at Bathurst. So yeah, I really expect to see them nailing it tonight.
I mean, people just love the track, right? They just want to go to the one that they're familiar with. And, you know, like you said, it's also in every competition. So, you know, you better be good at it. You better be really good at Bathurst because, you know, it always ends up back there. But Phillip Island, of course, you know, we don't see this one quite as often, but it can certainly be an exciting one. I mean, you're taking a look at the track, and like you said, there's just so much room for drivers to push if they want to. And I think we'll have a handful of drivers in the race today that might be players to look for when doing that. Looking at the qualifying times that have been locked in so far, I mean, Anderson shooting up was pretty exciting, but all pretty much as we expect, I'd say.
Yeah, just about. Yeah, Ansel, Hugo, Ben, Michael, Darren, I'm going down the list. It's all the names that we expect to see at the top. These have been fighting at the top of the races all throughout the season. Like I say, maybe the one who's done a bit better than he has in the past in qualifying here. So if he keeps that position, he'll be doing well. And looking at those lap times, 1:28.9, 1:29.0, I think those are good. Not many people are going to be able to beat that as we close down. Just over 3 minutes left to go in this qualifying session. So it definitely sets some hot times. It's just whether someone like Matt Stevens maybe down in 10th, whether he's got anything more to try and move up the leaderboard.
Yeah, Matt Stevens probably the last one remaining that I'd expect might change. Maybe we get some shuffling up in the top 6 somewhere. But like you said, you know, very hard to beat some of those times. Probably not looking at it here in the final few minutes of qualifying. Nice sunny day as well. We haven't had any rain this championship, Matt, I've realized. Should we be...
I hope you haven't cursed it. If we get rain at Bathurst, that is going to be crazy.
Can you imagine? And just, it's a surprise for the drivers too. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing we can do in this. And, you know, as a viewer who doesn't have to compete, I would love to see it. I would love to see just, you know, complete unfairness thrown onto the drivers in the form of random bouts of rain.
Yeah. That is the beauty of this sim racing, and particularly with iRacing, is you have a lot of that control to set, like you say, set the conditions. You can even set the track conditions in terms of the amount of rubber that's come off tires and has been laid down on the track, so that determines how much grip you might have, and all the lighting that's going to heat up the track or cool down the track. So yeah, you have a lot of control, and you can go out, practice all these different conditions ahead of time if you want to, and then come to the race. These drivers, we haven't told them exactly what the conditions are going to be, so they are coming in, it's a little bit of a surprise, a little bit having to practice a various variety.
I have a good feeling it's not going to be raining on Bathurst.
Yeah.
5 out of 6, and then suddenly we get rain. No, I don't think so. But I mean, look, it is good to keep it consistent. Of course, we want to find the best driver, and rain, it can be a little contentious. So it's going to be all sunny here, but I mean, maybe next season all rain. I'm calling it. But yeah, Matt Stevens not looking to increase his position in the grid yet. So I think we're getting pretty much what we're seeing right now. So it looks like no one did close Sabo's lap time. So, I mean, look, do we just see another race just like last week where Sabo rockets off and there's no hope of anyone to catch him?
Well, I mean, we'll see in a few minutes' time, won't we?
Now, Anderson's going to get
interesting that he's got the pressure off. He can just attack the track, and I wonder if maybe that's part of the mental game that's allowed him to sort of step up in the second half of the season. Is he's not applying that pressure to himself. He's now able to just push and go for it. As he's just improved this time by a little bit as well. So he is on the ball here at this track. It was great. We were just watching Ben Stewart. I was going to mention he's shot up to 3rd position as well. That would be his best qualifying, I believe, through the season. He hasn't done well in qualifying sessions, but he's always been gaining spots in the races, and that's what's allowed him to stay in the championship, to stay in the fight. So from 3rd position, if he continues that trend of gaining places in the races, Ben Stewart definitely could be one to watch.
Yeah, Anderson and Stewart, 2 drivers we don't normally see this far up in the grid. Could be wildcards. You never know. Anderson battling with Sabo could be the epic final battle that we were really hoping for at the end. Ben Stewart as well. Like, can he actually catch Sabo? Because I reckon he can catch Anderson, and maybe we can have a fun battle there. But yeah, who's going to make it out of there alive? Do they make it out alive enough to challenge Sabo? And then of course you've got people like Hugo Allen, Dylan Jordan, Michael Healy right on the tail. So it's not like it's going to be an easy pack to stay ahead of either.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see how this lap 1 turns out. We're in overtime now, so everyone's just finishing their final flying lap. And then we're going to find out who claims that pole position as Antel. Still on a hot lap. Is he going to try and improve at the end? Surely he can't go faster than he's done.
Nah.
Close. Not quite.
A little bit off. We'll give it to him though.
And again, we're seeing how close these times are in qualifying. A second covers, how many is that? Over 13 drivers, so nothing between them. Is Matt Stevens has actually improved his lap touch there, so he's back up into 10th position. It's encouraging.
10th is nice, but for the driver in 3rd position of the championship, could easily contest for 1st place. You would definitely, Matt Stevens' 1st position, right? He wants to defend that, so, it's absolutely possible for him to drop out of 1st position here today, all the way down to something like 4th or 5th, depending on how things go. So, 2 races, a lot of points. If both races go pretty badly, he could be out of top 6 even.
Yeah, and his rival in 2nd place in the championship, Dylan Jordan, is up in 5th. So that, if they finish like that, that would swing back the other direction and it would be all on for the final race.
All right, gonna call it there for the qualifying laps, as I believe pretty much everyone has completed their laps. So let's take a look at how the grid's gonna line up. We have Sabo well at the front in pole position, like a lot of us were expecting. Nathan Anderson, Ben Stewart, 2 wildcards up there in the top 3, and familiar faces, Hugo Allen, Dylan Jordan, Michael Healy in that top 6 of the grid. This is, are you excited for those 2 wildcards, Matt, between Nathan Anderson and Ben Stewart?
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely hugely excited because we know those guys, they're fighting for the win. That's all they want to get. They're not worried about sort of being conservative for the championship. But then in the mix, some drivers that are maybe going to be conservative in the championship. So it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers approach this one.
Yep, they're going to get a fight whether they like it or not. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to the actual track on Phillip Island after a short break. When we return, we continue the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Cup.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
My world is my storytelling.
My world is diverse. Our world.
My world is astrophysics. It's always been a dream of mine.
I don't know what my career pathway will be.
I approach architecture from the point of view of my culture.
I want to contribute to my people.
It's a way I can give back. I want to change the perception of engineers.
I want to take my tohu home when I graduate.
Right now, it's about me.
And this is my chapter.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Cup. I'm here at the Samsung Odyssey Arc Action Station, here to talk about qualifying and what we saw just now on Phillip Island. Now, we've got some pretty awesome drivers coming in here today, but my look at today's race has got to be that second and third place in the grid. You've got Nathan Anderson as well as Ben Stewart, two scary drivers who normally position a little further down the grid. Tonight, though, they're right up there, just behind Antal Rafael Sabo, who took out winning position in both the last week's races. So a good little battle there in top three. I would keep my eyes on it for sure to see how it goes here on Phillip Island. Monkey Matt, I mean, I've talked about the top three in the grid. What do you think about the rest of it?
I'm excited to get into race one of the night. Phillip Island Circuit, of course, well known for the Supercars Championship. A circuit with some great views off over the ocean. Of course, we're not worrying about that tonight. We're here for the racing, for the motorsport. It's a track that's going to challenge these drivers. We've already seen in qualifying that the drivers making mistakes. That's easy to do around here. And it might also be easy to defend in the race. So keep an eye on that. But out in front, we're seeing the grid now. Antal Rafael Sabo gets pole position once again. He's ahead of Nathan Anderson in second. Ben Stewart fighting for the championship. He's starting in 3rd position ahead of Hugo Allen, who we've seen has great pace, and I'm excited to see if he can continue that tonight. Dylan Jordan, Michael Healy, both fighting for the championship as well, 5th and 6th, and Brendan Dove and Brad in 8th position. Over on page number 2, Darren Lobb and then Matt Stevens, driver who hasn't finished outside, or let me see if I can get this right, hasn't finished outside the top 7, I believe. He's going to be fighting and trying to gain positions from where he's starting on the grid. And then Robert Henry, Hayden, Hamish, Henry, Nicholas, and Ian in the 16th position. On the last page, rounding out the field, Mandela Pluck and Enrique Grant in 18th spot. And we're not far away from getting into the race here, Smite. How do you find this one? We've talked about the grid enough, but we're about to go into race format.
Yeah, look, Monkey Matt, again, it's like I said at the Odyssey Arc Action Station, it's all about that top 3 to me. First off, can Sabo actually be challenged? And second off, how are Anderson and how is Stewart going to be pushing their limits here? Are they going to be battling each other? Are they going to be battling Sabo? Or will the drivers behind them, like Hugo Allen, Dylan Jordan, Michael Healy, are they going to be contesting them as well, causing a chaotic battle of 5 drivers behind Sabo, giving him the runaway? I think that's really what I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. The front battle should be all on as we're about to get the racing. Lap number 1, Phillip Island. You can hear the cars ready to go. Those lights come on. And they are off and racing, getting a reasonably clean start, the front group, and they're already looking like they're going to slot into single file, heading down to the number 1. Battle in the mid-pack, as you'd expect to see some side-by-side, and they hang on around there. But the front cars getting away cleanly. Oh, well, they got close there.
Yeah, a few little cheeky side-by-sides there, but for the most part, these drivers are going in a bit of a single file here. So, oh no, we've had one driver go completely off the field. We'll have to get a look at who that was. I'm not quite sure exactly who it is, but for now we have Sabo leading the pack all of the way. Oh no, another one goes wild and completely spins out. He's going to be blocking the middle of the track, luckily hitting no one else. Someone else actually clipped onto the grass, actually a handful of drivers. I wonder how that conversation is going to go with racing officials a little later on. That seemed like a bit of a mess. For now though, luckily for the front of the pack, I think they got to avoid pretty much all of the trouble, Matt.
Yeah, drama early on. Usually we've seen that the drama comes late in the race, but starting things off early, as now it looks like this is the... Oh, there we go, back to the front group. There's Brendan. Battle's still on, definitely, with these front drivers.
Yeah, a huge pack up here, all the way up in the middle of the pack here. Brandon Dove, someone who's been contesting Sabo for first position, all the way back here in the middle of the pack. Expect to see him push up a few positions here. He'll have to sneak on by a few of these guys pretty early on. Has the slipstream here, may even challenge at the very next turn. We've got Brandon Dove, Michael Healy and Matt Stevens all incredibly close together. Let's see if they actually try to go on the inside here. Brandon Dove getting 1, make it 2 positions here, all the way up to 6th. Doesn't need to push for any more, but I think he still wants a little bit more.
So Matt Stevens, one of the winners on lap number 1, up into 7th place already, having started down in 10th. So we talked about can he gain positions. Straight away, he is right up there, and only a couple of spots behind Dylan, who was fighting in the championship.
Yeah, so you can see around about to the 4th position, there is such a good battle going on between all of them. Brandon Dove certainly choosing to do a lot of it. Michael Healy, as we're on board with him right now, has a few of his own battles to get. This is definitely a driver who wants to earn some points tonight. It can mean a lot of money from the prize pool for him. As long as he places consistently over both tracks, he should be fine, but we'll need to consistently place well if he wants to defend some of those top cash prizes. So 9th place, maybe over both races, but I imagine he doesn't want to rely on the luck of other drivers going poorly. Speaking of going poorly, Matt, it's another one out in the Wops.
Yeah, who was that? Was that Brad going off? Or Enrico, I think. Yeah, there we go, confirmation. And yeah, big one going off. I talked about it pre-race. You don't want to do that. You can do it in qualifying. You can't get away with it in the race. So now he's dropped to the back of the field, unfortunately, and it's going to be tough in these equal cars to try and come back from something like that.
Moving on to the front of the pack here, you can see now Nathan Anderson up in P2, right on Sabo's tail. And this is what I like to see. You still have Ben Stewart up there in the battle too, along with Hugo Allen, are really being involved in a good, tight 4-car battle there. And you can definitely see with the shorter laps here, drivers will certainly be looking to make some challenges sooner rather than later, because there's just going to be that many more opportunities on the track. And you can see Anderson, he's looking for his way in. You know that he always is.
Yeah, the two MRP drivers out in front, you can see the beautiful liveries there. Sabo in the green and Nathan Anderson in the yellow. They are still nothing between them. In fact, there's 4 drivers here. Hugo also MRP in 4th position, so those drivers doing really well tonight and we're really battling it. I'm loving the fact that we could see 4 drivers, sort of nothing between them to start with. How long can they keep this battling going? And will they prove my theory of how easy or hard it is to overtake? I was talking about how it might be difficult, but so far they're managing to keep close behind the driver in front of them. It's just whether they can make that final move, find a spot to try and get the overtake. Oh no!
That's disaster.
Nathan Anderson. I talked about going wide. Another driver has shown that it's so easy to go wide. You want to put the foot down early, but he's put the foot down too early, accelerated out of the corner and off into the grass. Got away with it a little bit though. He's lost a few spots. But really, that could have been a lot worse.
Well, he's slowly losing more as well. Now it's Dylan Jordan to compete with, sitting in between Dylan Jordan and Hugo Allen. That is not a comfortable position, but hey, at least a few more opportunities. Like you said, could have been a whole lot worse. So he's lucky to get out of that one. But yeah, a driver that really pushes the bar on where to challenge. Speaking of challenging, we have someone sneaking on up here again. Who was that? That was Brandon Dove.
Brandon Dove getting past Dylan Jordan. So I wonder if that's Dylan just maybe being a little bit conservative, thinking long term. He knows he's in the championship fight, and he knows Brandon's not. So Brandon's willing to be aggressive and go for those moves, and it looked like he just caught him off guard a little bit. Found a gap, managed to get past. So far these drivers proving that you can still overtake reasonably well.
Yeah, honestly, for Dylan Jordan, it's actually really good if Brandon Dove beats a lot of these guys who are in 1st to 4th, because they're all ahead of him, or at least challenging him in points. So the less they get, the better, but not Brandon Dove. Doesn't matter. So yeah, technically by leaderboard, it's actually a good move for him. Hugo Allen here now getting to sit in 3rd place after what happened to Nathan Anderson, who actually has snuck up back to P4 already. Hugo now could look to challenge up against Ben Stewart. Isn't that far behind, but look at the gap between 1st and 2nd. I think Sabo has sped away again.
Yeah, Nathan Anderson going off just gave Sabo that sort of 1 car length breathing space, and apparently that's all he needs, because he just heads off into the distance out in front. And yeah, we've seen when he's out in front, he is hard to catch. So Ben Stewart has got he's got a handful at the moment, because he's got Hugo breathing down his neck, but he also wants to try and get the lap speed to catch up. So does he defend? No, he wants to take the racing line. Oh, Hugo thought about going down the inside, but not on that occasion. So yeah, Ben Stewart's in a tough spot right now.
Oh, no, I thought I saw someone spin out behind, but it looks like crisis averted. So yeah, I mean, Ben Stewart, Hugo Allen, good battle there. Nathan Anderson and Brandon Dove a little further back. They've also got Dylan Jordan in that little battle as well. Nathan Anderson can play defensively for sure. Sometimes works out better for him as well, because then there's not the risk of, you know, what just happened to him, losing his 2nd position. So he might actually be all right here, but Brandon Dove is looking kind of aggressive, seeing if he can find something on the outside maybe. He's searching for anything beyond the driving line here. Nathan Anderson, he's got a while to catch up to Hugo Allen, so for now he'll just be fighting off Dove.
Yeah, Brandon Dove, one of the great qualifiers so far this season, didn't get the best qualifying here at the moment, but proving that he's still got the pace on this track, trying to move forward, putting a lot of pressure on Nathan, which Nathan's holding on at the moment. He's managing to put up with it. And they're going to have to, you know, continue that quick pace to try and stay in front of Brandon. And I wonder if that we might see them close the gap to the drivers in front throughout this race. But so far, it's so even between them. It's so hard to try and get a move done. These guys are all, you know, top of their game. It's just the top drivers in New Zealand going at it. The top drivers were all selected, and now we've got the top drivers of that selection fighting at the front. So it's awesome to see. And again, we're seeing just how close they can get here between Hugo and Ben Stewart.
And it's just got to put the pressure on too. Like, you know, as Ben Stewart, he obviously wants to try and catch Sabo. even championship points be damned, just for the bragging rights. But he's got Hugo Allen constantly on his tail. It's constantly going to slow him down whenever he has to adjust, defend, to block any driving lines that Hugo Allen goes for. It just slows him down and makes Sabo's lead even bigger. That said, though, I mean, you look at the split time, Matt, and Ben Stewart has been shaving it, but after that, shot back up.
Yeah, it's definitely close between them, and I think we might be seeing some sort of strengths in different parts of the circuit, where the other driver has in the strength in the other part of the circuit. But Hugo, just a little bit of a lock up there, and that sort of let the pressure off Ben a little bit. So I wonder if now that he's got a few car links behind him, he can focus on his own, taking the optimal racing line. I wonder if now we're going to see the best out of Ben Stewart, and if he can try and close that gap as we were talking about, try and close in on Ansel ahead of him. Because it is still less than a second, so, you know, it looks like one of the bigger one of the bigger gaps on track, but it's actually still really close between all these sort of top 10, not top 9 sort of drivers.
It's still just within the reach of Ben Stewart to catch, right? You're not sitting there thinking, oh, it's impossible, but it is going to be a hard yarn to make it there. A lot of hard work, consistent laps, dealing with Hugo Allen, who pretty much has caught right back up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, like, you're basically hoping Sabo does something wrong, which, you know, if you watched last week, is not the way to go. So instead, you're just going to have to hope, all right, I'm just going to do my best lap every time and hope Hugo Allen doesn't push the bill too far.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to keep pushing. You got to try and stay as close as you can, right down to the line, because we have seen races resolved on the final lap at the final corner. So it's definitely not over till it's over. And I mean, particularly this race is still very close. It's just that challenge of, can you catch or can you make overtakes now? We're starting to see it settle down into a bit of a pattern now, a bit of a rhythm through the middle phase of the race. And at the moment, Antal Stavo doing everything he needs to do. No mistakes in the first 7 laps. He leads the way. And then this is the closest battle here. Second place, Hugo Allen stalking Ben Stewart, who's in that awesome Sim Blacks livery. Another great sim racing brand in New Zealand.
Hugo Allen would love these second place points as well. With all the points in the top 6, they're kind of, you know, within the difference of like 2 or 3, maybe 4 between the positions. So individual placings, does he push it on the inside here? He does.
He's got the inside line because I think Ben Stewart just touched the grass, the smallest amount. That slowed him down just a touch, and straight away Hugo Allen was right there to pounce, goes through, but that was a great camera angle. There's nothing between them. Ben Stewart wants to make the point and try and get that spot back as soon as he can.
Just great reactions from Hugo Allen, right? Like, waiting to see that slight mistake and immediately changes his line, adjusts, and makes it by him. It's still a long way to go to Sabo, but I think that's realistically what Allen was looking for on Phillip Island here. That's going to get him that 1 extra point, keep him nice and healthy up there in the leaderboard. Like I was saying, these individual points are going to matter once it comes down to it at the end of the last 2 races today. So Ben Stewart, you know, he's competing for a lot of these too. He wants that P2 just as hard, so look to see him push forward. But that other wild card I was talking about, Nathan Anderson, he's now in the battle contention as well. Look how close he is in P4.
Absolutely, that battle in front of him has brought those drivers right back, and he is right back in this top 4 sort of battle. Ansel just gaining a little bit again. Over the last couple of laps, he's pulled away a little bit more, but these 3, nothing between them. And if they start battling, Brendan Dove is not too far away either. And look how Nathan is taking the slightly alternate line, just showing the nose, filling the mirrors of Ben Stewart in front of him, putting so much pressure on, and Ben Stewart has had to cope with this the whole race as he darts out and goes down the inside. Is he going to be too late on the brakes? He is too late on the brakes. Big lock-up. Big off for Nathan Anderson.
I told you, like, even if it's successful or not, watching Nathan Anderson is going to be entertaining no matter what. Drops 4 positions. Could have been worse for a mistake like that, but that's the kind of thing I thought he was just going to go for it and make it. But yeah, no, he couldn't break in time. Didn't want to mess everyone else up. Graciously took the crash on the outside. But even then, that's got to be a scary moment for Brandon Dove, who was behind him, but now gets to come up to P4 and start being in that contention for the top spots as well.
Yeah, he went for the aggressive move there, trying to be late on the brakes, but all these drivers are pushing the limit so much that, you know, if you're braking later than someone else, it means you're braking too late. And he was braking too late that time. Locked up all the wheels, hit it off. Good awareness from Ben Stewart to manage to avoid that as the driver came past on the inside. He managed to avoid it, didn't have any incident there. So he's able to continue and continue hunting down Hugo Allen in that top 3. But that's going to open up a little bit of a gap there again between some of these drivers. As we're looking back now at Michael Healy and Matt Stevens, who have picked up a spot after that off from Nathan Anderson. So they'll be happy about that. 1 extra point to their name, potentially, as Nathan Anderson is still there in the background. Still wants to catch up, and we know he's got pace. But yeah, at the moment, that 1 extra point could be critical because it is going to be so tight.
Yeah, the thing is, though, they would have loved to see someone like Brandon Dove or Ben Stewart just get sent out of the top of the table, right? Because they're the ones they want to challenge for the points. But, I mean, hey, you'll still take an extra position for sure. From Michael Healy, Matt Stevens, they've got some very scary drivers to overtake in front of them now. None of them are going to be easy, but they're all drivers who they can't really afford to have getting more championship points than them. They don't have to worry about Sabo. He's further down the leaderboard. Ben Stewart, a little further down as well, but could catch up. But Hugo Allen, Brandon Dove, Dylan Jordan, you don't want these guys getting points if you're behind them. Otherwise, championship might be out of grabs for you.
Yeah, and it's great to see the championship at the moment looking like it's going to be decided on track because these drivers so close to each other on the track, battling each other as it has been the whole season. And we saw those great wide-angle shots just showing this lead group really pulling away from the rest of the pack. And it seems to be the way we've seen it throughout the 4 weeks that we've had. Is there's sort of 6 to 8 drivers that are really at the top of their game and really fighting for these race wins each time. We've actually had 5 different race winners in the 6 races so far, so it's been a really competitive season. And at the moment, Ansel's looking like he wants to keep it at only 5 different race winners. He wants to keep picking up more wins than his name.
And after his performance last week, showing up here again today with the same one, I wouldn't question him being the last remaining winner as well. I mean, he's looking fantastic on Phillip Island. He easily could do the same thing on Bathurst. But I guess it does come down to qualifying. Maybe if he's a bit further back in the grid, it could be rough for him, but certainly works extremely well when he's P1. For everyone else, 2nd, 3rd, that's kind of what's up for grabs at the moment here. That's what we're fighting for. Hugo Allen's managed to secure his spot in 2nd, but secure is a bit of a subjective word here. You've got Ben Stewart, Brandon Dove right on your tail. Very, very hard battle to defend, and we're not even halfway through, Matt.
Yeah, it's interesting to see actually that early on when Ben Stewart was ahead in 2nd, he was able to keep it quite close to Antel, but since Hugo's made that overtake, Antel's been able to pull off into the distance. So I was watching it, I was expecting maybe Hugo had the extra pace. When he was sitting behind, he looked like he had the extra speed, but maybe not the case, as Ben Stewart has stayed right on his tail, right in that battle. And in fact, Brandon Dove has caught up a bit as well. So now it's almost becoming a 3-way battle again, and I'm loving how close it continues to be.
Yeah, this is the kind of racing that we're looking for, right? The one where a battle could happen at just about any moment, just about any turn. You know Ben Stewart will take those chances. Brandon Dove as well. And then even like just over a second behind them, you have the pack starting with Dylan Jordan. You know, all those guys are going to be doing some pretty great battles as well. Matt Stevens, Michael Healy, both needing those points as well. So expect to see them go for some of these overtakes here. Maybe even in the second half now that we're just crossing that line. Just because, you know, there's still quite a lot of laps to go. And depending on how many positions you want to be able to pick up, some of these laps are going to need those overtakes pretty soon.
Yeah, this is actually a crucial battle right here for 5th and 6th. We see Dylan and Matt Stevens following along there. Matt in that MRP blue car looking lovely, and then Dylan ahead of him in the Kiwi Sim Racing liveried car. I mean, all these cars look amazing. I just love the liveries they've been able to produce. But those guys are fighting for 1st and 2nd in the championship. So currently it is Matt Stevens 4 points ahead of Dylan, but on the track he is 1 position behind. So if they stay as they are, it would just be 3 points difference heading into Bathurst. So every position here definitely counts, and if you can gain those extra spots, it'll make your life easier in the final race, because when it's close like that, it'll be a nervous one.
Yeah, and you know, you definitely want to be the one to take home that $700 as well, right? It'll be a big step down to the next place in prizing. And so, you know, if you're Matt Stevens, you're already in that position. You just need to defend it a little bit. Maybe just overtaking Dylan Jordan could be enough for you. Maybe getting it past Brandon Dove might be enough for you. But, you know, you leave it as it is here. It's a slightly harder battle in Bathurst to defend that title. And when you have people like Ben Stewart and even Nathan Anderson showing up and qualifying, there's all these wildcard factors that can make it just not as reliable as, just do good on Bathurst. Like, who else is gonna just do good? Like, you know, we might have a Ben Stewart performance from someone else when we get to Bathurst. So, Phillip Island, you know, you still have 10 laps to go. I expect to see some overtaking if these guys are serious about getting those leaderboard points. A championship prize pool.
This is the delicate position where, you know, when you are fighting for the championship, you want those extra positions. You know they count, but also you cannot afford to have a crash. You cannot afford to have a mistake and go off the track, like we saw from Nathan Anderson, because you lose those 5 points, and you know your hard work is all undone. So it's a delicate position at the moment. They seem to be not taking too many risks. They're obviously still pushing hard to be up there in the fight, but the likes of Matt Stevens hasn't tried to go for a big dive down the inside. He's just been waiting, looking for his opportunity, maybe hoping that there's a small little mistake in front of him or a little bit wide through one of the corners. We see different lines through the big sweeping left-hander. Dylan actually got a great exit out of that corner. And now this is what Michael Healy right into the spike.
Michael Healy right on the tail. But again, with no actual gap, does he take it around the outside while Matt Stewart also goes slightly on the end of the track, but it seems like just very slightly different lines. No one actually going to go for any overtakes just yet. But you can see that they're all checking to see what's available. But for now, Dylan Jordan ahead of them. He's just keeping it shut.
Yeah, there's no real openings. We've seen a couple of different lines through the corners trying to optimize different parts of the track, whether they're trying to be fast into the corner or getting fast exit. But yeah, there's not really a gap to throw a car down at the moment. They've really just got to try and set it up. Well, again, we're seeing the different lines though, and the great speed carried through the corner there from Matt Stevens. Can he try and force the car in front of him to have to defend? And he's also going to have to keep his eye on his mirrors, because this is a fully fledged three-way battle now. Who's got the run on the exit? It looks like it might actually be Michael Healy who has a good run, although he's going to be forced to the outside. Matt Stevens, can he get down the inside of the car in front of him? It looks like he might be able to do it. Good run down the straight. Matt Stevens want to get it done. Down to turn number 1, but they're going to go side by side the whole way around. Can he hang on? Eventually, Matt Stevens gets across and covers him off. Great move at the end there, and that was just momentum heading onto that front straight.
Yeah, really, really threading the needle there. Matt Stevens knowing the exact line to take and managing to pick up on it, getting him that one extra position we were talking about, putting Dylan Jordan behind him. Now, they can do battle with Michael Healy, which is also going to be quite fun to watch. I think we'll keep our eyes here for a little while as maybe a little bit goes on again. Oh, Healy playing defensive though.
Michael Healy, you know, he actually made the move there. He managed to get through. So that was Dylan just a little bit out of position after being overtaken from Matt Stevens, and now he's going to try and get his momentum back, because he lost a little bit of time in that, and he's lost 2 spots in the space of about 5 corners. So unfortunate for him, but great move from the other 2 drivers, and great racing. There's no contact between them or anything like that as well. It was all clean and just awesome to watch.
Yeah, just a really great mechanical maneuver from Matt Stevens, and then followed up by Michael Healy. Great driving from both of these guys tonight. They certainly need it. They're wanting to earn those points all the way up there on the championship leaderboard. Prize pool being decided tonight here. Second last track. Phillip Island going great for them. Unfortunately though, you look at the distance between Matt Stevens and Brandon Dove. Might be a little while before we get that, but do we see Michael Healy test anything? Surely a little too far back for that, yeah. Not gonna happen.
He thought about it a little bit there, and I wonder if there's just a little bit of slipstream on that front straight that's playing a little bit of a role and helping out the drivers behind as well. But he thought about going down the inside, didn't really have it on that occasion, but he's definitely filling the mirrors of Matt Stevens and putting the pressure on. I wonder if these drivers will be able to, like, oh, I was going to say uncork the bottle, but this battling is going to slow them down. Is defending Matt Stevens go down the inside. Oh, is it a mistake from someone up in front as well? Hugo Allen now, only just in front of these drivers. So Hugo Allen must have had a drama.
Yeah, that suddenly puts him back in the grasp for Matt Stevens, right? He can jump up another position, get the fourth, and steal away from Hugo Allen, another contender for some of those championship prize pool placings. Whatever drama did happen, Matt Stevens is going to be stoked, right? Now he's got another chance to prove himself, score some extra points. Fantastic result for him. For Hugo Allen, though, pretty devastating. I wonder what happened.
Yeah, we didn't catch it, unfortunately, but he's, excuse me, dropped down to fourth, and now it looked like this battle was going to be resolved, and now there's a three-way battle once again, but with a new driver introduced.
Yeah, and again, that makes it super exciting. I love to see it. Matt Stevens, he's still going to be fighting. Michael Healy as well. We've seen what he can do. Dylan Jordan, even on the tail end of that pack, don't count him out. He's a little further back, but could easily be involved in it if he wants to. Oh, Matt Stevens getting right up there. Extremely close. This could again be another one that on any turn could turn into a battle between these three drivers. A really, really good one here on our penultimate track, Monkey Man.
Yeah, you'll love to see it. Oh, is that a driver for Hugo? It's gone very deep there, and I wonder if he's carrying a flat spot or something like that on his tyres, because that just looked like the car didn't want to stop on that occasion. He's gone deep, lost a couple of places, but he's rejoined and carried on. Oh, a little bit of a nudge there between these two as well. He wants to hang on to every position, but yeah, I wonder if he's carrying a little bit of a drama there from that earlier incident, and it's just causing more mistakes and more difficulty for him. But Michael Healy and Matt Stevens, they'll be thankful for it because they just got another free position.
Oh yeah, they are absolutely stoked, and even people like Dylan Jordan, they are now ahead of Hugo Allen too. Another great thing for them on leaderboard points. So all things considered, nothing really changes for that sort of thing. Sabo and Stewart up in first and second, probably not going to change there. Robert Henry, he's a driver who's now starting to poke his head into the top 8 and could even look to contest Hugo Allen. I wonder, Hugo, how is he going to recover from the rest of that? Can he hold on to top 7? That's going to be a good question. But let's look at Matt Stevens here.
Yeah, Matt Stevens, another driver trying to hold on to his 4th position at the moment because Michael Healy is looking racy behind him. Forced him to go the long way around turn 1. Tough pass. So he was able to hang Matt Stevens hanging on the inside, but he's having to play defensive at the moment. That's the cost of a chance to try and catch up to the drivers in front, but he knows every position counts as Michael Healy is looking for every opportunity on the outside, crosses back to the inside. Does he have enough momentum on the exit? He's got good momentum, but he's got the outside line again. Not much he can do around there, and look how close! Oh, there might have been contact between them there. They're just right next to each other on exit. Again, crossing back, trying to find a way through. Matt Stevens placing his car nicely on there. Oh, was there a little bit of a touch between them? He's on the grass! Oh, gathers it up. Great car control to not lose it there. I thought he was going to be off into the fence for sure, but these three, Matt Stevens is hanging on like his championship depends on it. And in some ways, it might. And he knows it. Michael Healy putting all sorts of pressure, trying to find a way through. There's still 5 laps left to go in this race. There's time for them to resolve this one. And again, it's shaping up like it might become a 3-way battle at any moment now. Yeah, intense battle there. Matt Stevens to hold on during Michael Healy's assault like that. Very impressive. But I don't think it's over yet, Monkey Matt. They're still going right down the straight, side by side. I think they're going to go at it again. Michael just got a nose ahead, but he's on the outside line. Matt Stevens wants to hang around there, but now it becomes the inside for the left-hander, and Michael Healy eventually finds a way through. It took the entire lap, came back to started on turn 1, came back to turn 1, and he has managed to find a way past. So he gains that spot up into the position. Matt Stevens back down to 5th, which actually is a great job from Matt Stevens in this race so far. He started in 10th, currently racing in 5th. So he's battling for that spot. So Matt Stevens again producing a consistent result. I think I said it wrong earlier when I mentioned he's finished every race between 3rd and 5th. So his lowest result so far is 5th and currently on track again, although there's a little bit of a A little bit of grass being thrown up there. And so again, there might have been a little bit of a nudge between them. Still isn't over. I think Michael Healy might have gone just a touch wide. That's given Stevens a good run. Stevens, of course, was in the Crim Insurance livery early on in the season. I think he's got the tap on the shoulder from MRP because he's been producing great results. They've recognised that. And they've got him in that MRP blue livery car. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Really in front of Trans-Tasman Racing inside of his car. He's currently doing the job.
And it's really good for things like this to give drivers that opportunity to put themselves out there, get picked up by these teams. Grats to Matt Stevens for that result there, but grats to Michael Healy after that great session of driving to earn him that position ahead. It's going to be hard for Matt Stevens. He's still got a few laps to go, so it's certainly not impossible, but Healy might have just secured that 4th place position. Going to be scoring a ton of points. And someone as well we haven't really touched on is Brandon Dove. You know, what a result if he keeps this position. Was, I believe, something like 10th in the grid. I'm not sure, actually. But either way, he was much further down, shot up the pack, and now just gets to sit in 3rd. And, you know, I mentioned this at the start of the day when we checked the leaderboard, but he's a lot further down, around about where Sabo is. But if he gets a result like this, and then again in Bathurst, he could contest for the top 6. It's a very big asterisk on that, though.
Yeah, Brandon Dove, one of the top drivers we keep talking about, coming back to every single race. He seems to be in the picture, at least at the first half of the race, but he has run into some dramas in some of the previous rounds and had some crashes and lost and missed out on a lot of points that way. That's why, as you say, he is down the order a little bit, but very competitive and going to pick up some points here. That should give him some spots. As we look again at Ben Stewart, the gap's out in the front 3, opened up quite a lot more now as Ben Stewart sitting a little bit lonely in 2nd place in his Sim Black's car.
Yeah, I mean, once Ben Stewart gets a position like that, he's usually pretty fine. Doesn't really shave the time off to overtake someone like Sabo. But that's all good. I think he can be okay with that. Knows that Sabo is going to be scoring a lot of points tonight. Could be scary on the leaderboard, but it's much more important that people like Dove, Healy, Stevens, they'll get less points than Stewart. Because again, he wants to contest up into that top 6. And
yeah, Stewart, I think, is 12 points off the lead. So, you know, this result, he's beating all his rivals on the track at the moment. He's only going to pick up a few points ahead of them, though. So, it closes the gap heading into the final race of the season, but he's still got a lot of work to do in that race.
Yeah, I think this is going to have too much maths for us to do. By the time we're doing Bathurst, we're going to be having all these scenarios like, oh, well, Ben Stewart could win if Matt Stevens gets like 10 places lower than him, but Ben Stewart needs this many points. There's going to be a lot of scenarios like that, just because of how close this leaderboard has been throughout the season. So it's going to be exciting trying to do those on the fly when we're in Bathurst. But we still have to wrap up what we got here on Phillip Island. I don't think this battle between Brandon Dove and Michael Healy is done yet, because now he's caught up to him. He could actually challenge Dove for position 3.
Yeah, he's closed the gap quite rapidly over the last few laps. And Michael Healy clearly still got the pace at this phase of the race, despite, you know, any tyre wear and fuel getting lighter. These cars are getting trickier to handle. But again, he's going to try around the outside. He's in a good position as well. Can he hang on there? Brandon Dove's going to fight it, but it switches back. Now he's on the inside for the next corner, and surely that's going to be a good position, but they're still going to go side by side. Brandon hung out to dry on the outside, and look at that. Matt Stevens going to slip through. It's 2 positions lost just like that. Matt Stevens taking the opportunity he's still in front of him and just pouncing. What a great from him.
Yeah, the tandem attack from Healy and Stevens, devastating for Brandon Dove. Really, he needs those points to contest up there, and in the final few laps as well, to have that happen, devastating. He's now got Dylan Jordan as well behind him. That's not exactly an easy driver to hold off as well, so props out to Michael Healy. I think he's having the race of his life at the moment because he has shot up the positions. He is shaving off time rapidly to catch up between these packs, as well as overtaking the battles within the packs themselves. So all around, Michael Healy doing a fantastic job here. Don't know if he can catch Ben Stewart. That might be a bit too much of a big ask, but out of what he's had given to him here from the second half of this race, Healy has performed.
Yeah, Michael Healy, like driver of the day so far. He is putting on a great show to be up into the podium positions now. He is, of course, one of the race winners that we've had in this season, one of the 5. So we know that he can produce results, and Phillip Island seems to be working well for him. As now the drivers, I mentioned before that it was starting to spread out a bit, and then all of a sudden it was all go, and now maybe just settling down again. As we head on to the final lap now, it's Antal Sabo who's been under-challenged out in front. Ben Stewart sort of managed that gap. It's still at 2.3 seconds, so ever since Hugo was sort of taken out of the picture, Ben Stewart has kept that gap the same to Sabo, so still got plenty of pace in that car, but you know, when these drivers are driving on the limit the way they are, it's hard to close in on a leader like this. It's hard to close in on Sabo, as we've seen the second half of this championship has been all Antal Rafael Sabo, and he's only a few corners away now from picking up his 3rd win in a row.
Yeah, I don't think any other driver has picked up 2 wins, let alone 3. So Sabo really putting himself out there as the driver to beat here in the second half of the competition, winning 3 out of the 4 races, and we're about to go to the 4th after this, so he could do all of them. But final lap here on Phillip Island. Sabo completely uncontested here, maybe during the first few early tracks by some of the drivers in second place, but once he pulled ahead, Sabo was unstoppable.
Congratulations to that man. Another win to his name, and as you say, as soon as he had a gap behind him, he just pulled away and no one came close. Ben Stewart coming home in 2nd place, and then as Michael Healy, we saw that great drive to do lots of overtakes. Matt Stevens, similar one coming through the pack, finishes in 4th ahead of Brandon Tubb, who managed to stay above Dylan Jordan in 6th position. So Matt Stevens, another couple of points in the championship over Dylan Jordan.
Yeah, and then you look further down the finishing tracks as the last drivers complete their race. And you got to say, you know, probably the biggest casualty is probably going to be Hugo Allen, like maybe Nathan Anderson as well, who was out entirely from his result. Brad Jessen as well, a little disappointing. He was actually, I believe, something like 7th or 8th in the championship leaderboard.
Yeah, so
could have actually contested.
Update on that one is Darren Lobb ended up with a penalty because of an incident with Brad Jessen. So I think it might not be his own fault that he ended up losing a few spots in that race.
Ah, okay. I mean, you know, disappointing nonetheless, though, just maybe for different reasons. But regardless, it will keep him out of the leaderboard. Very, very challenging for him into Bathurst. But taking a look at the results from Phillip Island, we saw him cross the finish line just moments before. Sabo, 1st place for the 3rd time in the iRacing NZ Cup. Ben Stewart, Michael Healy, and Matt Stevens all hot on the tail after overtaking Brandon Dove. Dylan Jordan hot on his tail. And then you get into a few more familiar names, Robert Henry showing up there. And then as you move further down, it's like I said, an unhappy result for Brad Jessen. I'm sure he would have wanted better than that. Nathan Anderson as well. We saw the drama that went down with that man. So, yeah, unfortunate for a few of these guys lower down, but all the drivers looking for that championship position, like this man here, Antal Rafael Sabo, placing 1st position on Phillip Island. All of those guys, no surprises to see them at the top of the leaderboard.
He's looking calm and composed in the victory picture there, and he's seemed like he was calm and composed driving the car out on track as well. After the second half of the in the second half of the race, he was really unchallenged and just dominant. So great drive from him.
Huge race from Sabo, but can he be the 4-time winner when we go to Bathurst? Find out after we return from our break. It's going to be a few minutes, and we'll be right back.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
My world is my storytelling.
My world is diverse. Our world.
My world is astrophysics. It's always been a dream of mine.
I don't know what my career pathway will be.
I approach architecture from the point of view of my culture.
I want to contribute to my people.
It's a way I can give back.
I want to change the perception of engineers.
I want to take my tohu home when I graduate.
Right now, it's about me.
And this is my chapter.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Cup. My name is Matt Smite. Ross Monkey Matt is here, and Matt, we are up to the final track of the Cup. It's Bathurst, because where else would we go?
It is like the most famous track, the most well-known track in the region. It doesn't need much of an introduction. Of course, the Bathurst 1000 taking place recently as well. Yeah, this is going to be a good one, and it's set up for a big final race in terms of the championship as well.
Yeah, and if there is any track that these drivers are going to know like the back of their hand, it's going to be Mount Panorama here on Bathurst. 16 laps coming in today, so about the same length as every other track. But like I said, these guys know these laps. But Matt, for anyone who may not be so familiar with Bathurst, what are these laps going to be like for them on Bathurst?
Yeah, Bathurst is full on. There's the long straights that we're witnessing at the moment, and then they head up the mountain for the tight and twisty stuff where it really challenges these drivers. And we're looking at the section that comes down the mountain on the other side. That's where it's so easy to get loose and lose the rear of the car. You really have to have top-notch car control to navigate your way back down there. And then again, it's down onto those long straights at the bottom.
All right, so we are just getting the drivers on track for their qualifying on Bathurst. Now, back on Phillip Island, We had Sabo jump out and get a great P1 position on the grid. Do we expect that to happen again? And is it a death sentence for anyone else wanting to claim the first place at the end of Bathurst?
It seems to be that when Sabo starts in front, he just runs away with it. So everyone else is going to be trying to get ahead of him in the qualifying sessions. I'm sure of it. But one interesting thing in this session is it is quite a longer track, so probably going to be just over 2-minute lap time. And that means they're not going to get as many qualifying lap opportunities in this session because it's still just that 15-minute session that we have been using throughout the season. So with the way that they want to, do one lap and then get fresh tyres, they might only get 3 or maybe 4 laps in, maybe 2 or 3 even, of fast laps to try and set their qualifying time.
All right, Matt, so if you had to pick one driver here to put on the grid next to Sabo to really contest them up there in the first place, second place battles, do you have anyone in mind?
I'm just reminiscent of the battle he had with Brandon Dove. So if we got those two having that race for the lead again, that was the one that Monza came down to the final corner. Super exciting. I think there'll be fireworks if it was those two.
Yeah, Brandon Dove pulling in not too shabby back on Phillip Island, but if he wants anywhere up on the championship leaderboard, which is going to be a mess at this point, by the way, after all those points came in, he'll definitely want to be doing pretty well here on Bathurst. I think you've done a little bit of addition on your sheet there, Matt. So any comments you've got on, what could happen to the leaderboard here? Because, we had Sabo score another 24 points. Let's start with that. Like, how well can Sabo do with just one track to go? He can get up to 24 points. How much further can he go?
Yeah, so I think Sabo, drama in the qualifying session. Brandon Dove, was that a collision as well?
Nathan Anderson? Might have been.
Oh boy, so he's going to have to go back around, come back into the pits, because of course he's not going to be able to start a quick lap after that incident on the final lap. But pretty much the worst position you can have a crash in qualifying, because that ruins that lap and the next one. So unfortunate for him, but these drivers are quick, they'll get back around. There's enough time to get back around and have another crack at it. But we were talking about the championship. I believe Antel, with his maximum points from race number 1, if he can have a good race here, he should be pushing into those prize money paying positions, that top 6, just nudging into that sort of region. But in terms of the battle at the front, there's of course Matt Stevens. He's still holding on to the lead. He's actually extended it by a couple of points now, so he's 6 points ahead of Dylan Jordan. Those are the two that are closest up in the front. Then only 4 points back is Ben Stewart, and then 1 point back, Michael Healy. So likely going to be a battle between Matt Stevens and Dylan Jordan at the top. Then for 3rd place, Ben Stewart and Michael Healy. That's not resolved. And remember, each place you get higher, you're going to get more money paid out to you as well. So, they're still going to be fighting for it, even if they can't fight for the championship win.
Yeah, and if they've been tracking the points in their head as well, or they've got their own little spreadsheet, they could be sitting there looking at knowing, all right, if I go for this challenge here, this battle is worth something like $100 to me. So they'll know the stakes here coming into Bathurst, which is going to make it a whole lot more exciting. Of course, depending on who is keeping track of the points themselves. For a lot of these drivers, it really is just, they ignore a lot of that stuff and just want to sit in the track, put on the best time they can, do the best laps, and if there are other cars in the way, deal with it at the time. But then on the flip side, you've got other drivers who are like tracking the points the whole time and, like making sure they know the stakes of every battle. So you get all kinds.
And a reminder just as well how the point system works. It's 1 extra point for every position you get on the grid. So 1st place gets 24 points, and then 23 for 2nd, 22 for 3rd, and so on down the field. So the battle for the championship, it's 6 positions that Dylan needs to beat Matt Stevens by.
All right, that's an important one to remember. Dylan, 6 positions above. Yeah, I'm sure we're going to remember that throughout it. But I mean, Matt Stevens looking like he's pretty hard to beat, right? I mean, after Phillip Island is really showing up today, it's not like he's a sloppy driver on other weeks either. He's a very consistent one who places well very often. And so it's really scary to be like, man, I got to place 6 positions higher than that guy. It's doable, yeah. But I mean, you kind of have to rely on Stevens himself to do kind of bad.
Yeah, or a lot of other drivers to do well. Matt Stevens hasn't finished lower than 5th in the whole championship. So to beat him by 6 positions, it's going to have to be an off race for him. But, you know, we're coming to Bathurst. Anything can happen at Bathurst. We know that. We've seen it throughout the years in the Supercars Championship. So 16 laps is definitely a long time, and mistakes can creep in, or like we say, a lot of these other drivers will be really familiar with this track. Maybe they can, you know, jump up the leaderboard to where we've seen them in previous races. But we're starting to see some times, and a lot of those drivers who did make mistakes or have dramas on their first lap haven't got time, so there's more pressure on them. With this longer lap, it definitely puts more pressure on each lap because you don't get as many opportunities here in qualifying.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a rough one for these guys as well. And Bathurst, it's a track with a lot of traps. You know, even this final turn, right, is kind of a bit of a dick, right? Like, there's plenty of times you can just go sliding off the edge if you go a little too fast. So, like, and like you said, it's a long track to get your next lap good as well. So, yeah, I mean, getting these early qualifiers in, probably going to be pretty nice for these guys, but let's wait and see once we have all the qualifying laps actually locked in. We want to see Sabos. I want to see Andersons as well, but, you know, you still have people like Brandon Dove to qualify as well.
Yeah, a lot of people still haven't got lap times in, but we are seeing the 205s coming in already, so I think that's going to be a reasonably competitive time, and this is really a circuit where you can push really aggressively to try and find that extra time, but it's a risk to do so. So it's how much do you want to balance that of being aggressive or maybe being a little bit more conservative, as we see an aggressive time from Ansel Rafael Sabo goes into provisional pole at the moment. So he is ready to play tonight, ready to play at Bathurst.
Man, the man just never sleeps. Always somehow comes in here and just slips in the best time, and at least it's within obtainable positions, right? Only a 1/10 of a second ahead of Michael Healy. So, you know, overtakeable for sure. But man, he just comes in and says, all right, I'm in front of the grid again. It's on you guys to stop me. At least maybe even try to stop me here in qualifying. We've seen Sabo, yeah, he can push up the pack a little bit, but he is definitely the strongest from the pole position. Very, very hard to overtake. So it may need to be done here in qualifying. Otherwise, you're looking at maybe second place at best.
Well, yeah, Michael Healy starting in second. We talked about who would make a good driver to be in second place to try and push Sabo, and I think Healy might be another contender for that role based on his pace in the previous race. If he has that sort of pace here in this race, but he starts in second, he's definitely going to be fighting for the lead. So that's an exciting prospect. Of course, there's still nearly 7 minutes to go in qualifying, so we could see other drivers slip in there yet.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw, like, Michael Healy battling against Matt Stevens. It didn't even take him very long to shoot up the track once he found that window. So, you know, made some great plays against Stevens. I believe Dylan Jordan as well. So, next, the final boss is going to be Sabo. So that's another question to be had. But will he keep up with him on Bathurst? Looking at the qualifying laps, he can clearly keep pace with them. So what will he do when the battles come down against Sabo? Sabo, we've seen him battle Brandon Dove a lot, so he can play the two-man tango, but can he do it against Michael Healy? I think is what we all want to see.
Absolutely. We've been following Hugo Allen on this lap. He hasn't got a time yet, but this one looks like it could be reasonable. Heading into the final corner now. Wants to get it tidy through there. Oh, run up against the curve on the exit. He's pushing the limits, and maybe a little bit of a slide mid-corner. Cross the line, and... Oh, did we see the time come in there? 2:05.
I don't think it counts.
I believe it said 2:05, but he might have had an incident on that lap. That means...
Yeah, it definitely said 2:05.
Not count.
However, speaking of Brandon Dove, he had no issues with his lap showing up. Right up there at the top. Right now in front of Sabo by, what is that, not even a 1/10 of a second, I believe. Yeah. So, yeah, wow, okay.
Tiniest margin.
But yeah, that's now going to put Sabo in the second place, and he's going to have to battle Dove. He's going to have Healy on his tail. That's definitely... even from turn one, I want to watch that one, keep my eyes on it. That's going to be an exciting one to watch.
It's just amazing. We talk about it being the longest lap I think we've had so far, but it's the closest margin from first to second. There's nothing between it. Third as well is only half a tenth away from the blink of an eye, really, between these drivers. So it's just incredible how close they managed to be over a 2-minute lap with 23 corners, and they're still coming up half a tenth away from each other.
Huge moves from these guys. We're on board with Nathan Anderson at the moment, and he has not quite set the lap time that he's looking for, and that little wobble there has to be worried about this lap time as well. Who's he got right on the tail?
Yeah, that's going to
well?
cost him. It cost him the whole way down the straight there. That's not really a corner you want to get a bad exit. In fact, Hugo might even go past him here on this lap. So unfortunate there for Nathan that he's made that little mistake, and we've seen maybe a few of those from him across the night.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is going to leave him maybe one, maybe two more opportunities to set a lap time. And if that one's not going to cut it, 15th position in the grid, very rough, like even really far behind Hayden Kirk. 6 seconds behind him. Definitely able to improve that time for Anderson. We'll see if he does get to do it. I'd like to see him up there in like the top 6 somewhere. Really throw it again like another spanner in the works. He's really fun to watch and see how it goes. So Ben Stewart, actually, now he's the one in pole position with that first place grid time. What is that? So yeah, again, like 100 milliseconds in it. Pretty good position there for his qualifying.
Yeah, sorry, I just was making excited noises in the background there as I saw him cross the line and set the fastest time so far, 2:05.297. So he's 1.5 tenths up on the other drivers, but again, that is incredibly close between them, as we're now seeing all these drivers maybe setting themselves up to get ready for one final lap, one final push. And for some of these drivers, it's going to be a crucial lap. They need to get in a good time to try and gain some positions and be in the fight.
Yeah, so if Brad Gieson wants to push a little harder for championship points, I think he's technically still in contention for some. He'd want to qualify a little bit better. Who else have we got? We've got, Matt Stevens. He was up there before, but now has pushed all the way down to P8. He did really well on Phillip Island, pushing forward a few positions, like quite a lot. However, it's like, how well could he do if he qualified well? And unfortunately, we're not seeing that, unless he improves his lap again. P8 is, again, like it's lower than you'd expect him to be given on his race results. Dylan Lobb a little further up. I think we should keep eyes on him as well.
Yeah, and definitely we're keeping eyes on Hugo Allen, one of the top drivers we often see at the pointy end of races. Still hasn't set a valid lap time. So keep in mind that these drivers, if they do have an incident, say they hit the wall or they hit another driver, that lap will be invalid, so it won't count. I think that's what we've seen from some of the drivers throughout qualifying. So Hugo Allen's still without a lap that is valid, so he needs to get this one in, get it across the line, and that might be playing on his mind. Sometimes that when you have to get the lap, you end up being a little bit more conservative, and with how close this leaderboard is, if you're conservative, you're going to lose 3-4 spots easily.
Yeah, so Hugo, he could do really well from anywhere in top 6, but with this lap time, I'm not sure that's going to happen. Yeah, and you can see it's ticking well over. He's going to be somewhere in
all these
14.
drivers, I think, are lining up for another lap, and that's going to cause dramas. Oh no, they were slowing down to try and get space to set up for a final flying lap, and Brad Gieson was on a flying lap, came down the straight and straight into the back of them. That is a disaster, and we don't usually talk about the stewards having a look at things in qualifying, but I wonder if they might have a look at that one, because that's not something you want to see.
Yeah, that's one where, Gieson could easily have been further up. Crucial little bit of mistake there. I mean, we can see that Hugo Allen, his lap was pretty much over. By that point, wouldn't have positioned better than even, Nathan Anderson at that point. So I'm not sure it would have mattered too much for him, but this is probably going to be the last lap for a lot of these guys here, going in for one more to go up that grid just a little bit better. There's a few guys who I imagine would want to improve, like we already mentioned a few of them. Within the top 6 though, you're thinking like, oh yeah, maybe Dylan Jordan or Healy could go up ahead. They'd like that. But of course, Sabo is another one Does he just randomly slip in the best lap time while we're waiting here at the end? I think he's already sat off somewhere, happy with his time, but you know, like anything like that could happen. But for now, this might just be the grid we're looking at, Matt.
Yeah, any drivers who are on a lap are able to finish their lap. So I think that's what Hugo was thinking. He was gonna start one final lap, but if you crash at that final corner, we talked about it earlier, it kind of ruins your next lap. So I don't know if Hugo's even going to be able to get a time there. So that'll be a real disappointment after he was battling for the lead in the previous race. But at the moment, it is Ben Stewart ahead of Brandon Dove, ahead of Anta Rafael Sabo, and a lot of these drivers recognizing that they're not on a quick lap, coming into the pits knowing that they're not going to improve their lap. Has anyone still got speed? Matt Stevens looking to try and improve as he comes down to the final corner.
I don't know if this is going to
navigate it through there nicely.
Oh, it was close. Actually, that is better than the time on the board. So it did put him up one position there for Matt Stevens. So worth it in the end, I'd say. You know, one position is pretty good. Get some people out of the way, and we know what Bathurst can be like on turn one. A traffic jam around there is always bad. So the closer to the front you are, the better. Hopefully, you know, as long as no one in the front is the one that messes up. Although in a lot of our turn one shenanigans, Monkey Matt, this season we've had it pretty much all happen around the back of the pack, which luckily for the front runners, they're okay with it, but it does cause drama for those guys at the back.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in some dramas in the middle of the pack, and that's probably what's playing on Matt Stevens' mind. He's navigated it so far this season and sort of come through all right, but down in 8 after that qualifying session, he is, you know, he's going to be a little bit nervous for lap number 1.
Well, let's take a look at how it's going to line up. Ben Stewart is going to be holding that pole position here in the grid. Brandon Dove and Antal right behind him. Michael Healy, Dylan Jordan, other front runners for the championship position all up there. Darren Lobb as well, you can include him too. A little further down, Nathan Anderson could be looking to cause some havoc up there. Even further down the leaderboard, I think the big surprise is going to be Hugo Allen not managing to set a time. Brad Geeson, again, would have wanted to be a little further up, but yeah, this one's setting up to have a really good 1, 2, 3 battle, Monkey Matt. I can't wait to see it, but we're going to have to wait just a little bit longer because we're going to a quick break, and when we return, our final race, we go to Bathurst.
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
My world is my storytelling.
My world is diverse.
Our world.
My world is astrophysics. It's always been a dream of mine.
I don't know what my career pathway will be.
I approach architecture from the point of view of my culture.
I want to contribute to my people.
It's a way I can give back.
I want to change the perception of engineers.
I want to take my tohu home when I graduate.
Right now, it's about me.
And this is my chapter.
Kia ora everyone, and welcome back to the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Cup. My name is Matt Smite-Ross, and I'm here at the Samsung Odyssey Arc Action Station again for our final track of Bathurst. We've had the qualifying laps all done and dusted. One of our front runners, Antal Rafael Sabo, up there in P3. But he's got some crazy challenges up there. Brandon Dove, Ben Stewart, all who desperately want those championship points as well. It's all going to come down to this on the final race here at Mount Panorama on Bathurst. Monkey Matt, let's take it away on one of the most classic tracks in iRacing history.
We are here at Mount Panorama, the iconic Bathurst tracks. 16 laps of racing coming up, and it is the final race of the championship. It's going to be huge. All these drivers are going to be pushing to try and claim that last possible win that they can. And some of them are going to be pushing to try and claim the championship as well. Out in front of the grid, taking a look at it now, is Ben Stewart, Brandon Dove in second place, and then Antal Rafael Sabo. Keeping an eye on him. Can he sneak another win? 3 on the trot so far. But Michael Healy was so quick in the previous race. He continues that here. He'll be pushing forward as well. Dylan Jordan fighting for the championship. He starts 5th. Then Darren Love, Nathan Anderson in 7th, and then Matt Stevens leading the championship down in 8th. He needs a clean race to finish it off. On the second page now, Henry in 9th ahead of Nicholas, and then 11th and 12th is Robert Henry and Brad Geeson. Brad Geeson a little bit out of position, so look for him to push forward. Enrique Grand, Mandela Pluck, Hamish Cleland, and Ian Jabbar in 15th and 16th. And then final page, the last few drivers, Hayden Kirk and then Hugo Allen, no time set. He's a quick driver, but it's going to be tough to come through the pack, particularly on the opening few laps. Over the top of the mountain, hard place to overtake, but down the bottom of the track there are good spots to get the passes done, so you might have to be patient on these first couple of laps, but then expect to see the action unfold as we're about to go racing here for the final race of the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Cup.
Yeah, Bathurst, a classic. It's home to a lot of people here, fans of racing, simulation, real world. All of us love Mount Panorama. We're gridding up all the drivers now for their final race of the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Cup. We're going to crown our champion tonight, and it's all in this final race. There's a few who could be crowned tonight, and there's a few who could slip into the second best thing, which is still getting a little bit of money out of the prize pool, getting into that top 6. It's all going to come down to championship points, and boy, are we going to be talking about them today on the final race. Monkey Matt, we are just about revving up for the start. Let's go as Ben Stewart in pole position leads the way here on Bathurst, leading up to turn 1, and this is where havoc can ensue. But it looks like for the front runners, as we usually see, nothing going down. But you look at the back of the pack, Matt, and we've already got chaos.
Yeah, one driver going wide in turn number 1, and then now heading down the mountain straight into turn number 2. We've got a bit of side-by-side action already here, fighting for second place. It is Sabo who wants to gain spots around the outside of Brandon Dove. Is he going to hold it there? He is going to try it around the outside. It's a tough place to do. The camber isn't your friend when you're on the outside there, and he manages to hang on and look at it. He loses a few car lengths as well, but still holds on to the position.
Oh man, if we can keep the race this tight the whole way around, I will be very, very happy. Michael Healy, another one that really needs these championship points, pushing up the track just a little bit more. You can see everyone a fifth of a second in it between the person in front of them and another championship point. As now we start to move downhill, control is going to be on the line for a lot of these drivers. How much do they push the limits of these driving lines? How much do they push the limits of when they can brake? Coming downhill, disaster can strike at this part of the mountain, as we've all seen on Bathurst before. It happens in the simulation world as well. But we're going to round the bend and get back to the straight soon. And it looks like Ben Stewart will be the one leading the pack after the grid.
Yeah, over the top of the mountain, you can really see it's a different dynamic to what we saw at Phillip Island. Those close walls, if you make a mistake, there's no running off onto the grass and recovering it. If you hit those walls, it could be all over. And when it's so close like this at the start of the race as well, if someone makes a mistake and crashes, it could be a really big crash as well. As Matt Stevens can try to go around the outside, it looks like he did it reasonably comfortably as well. So I wonder if the MRP drivers, or if maybe there's a drama here from Nathan Anderson. He's going to fight that position, but I was just going to ask if the MRP drivers may be aware that their teammate Matt Stevens is fighting for the championship and giving the position rather easily.
Yeah, you can imagine they're talking to each other about it a little bit. Hopefully all still fair competition at the end of the day. Ben Stewart, he's going to be the challenger to beat. He's also got Brandon Dove up there at the front, Antal, Rafael Sabo also up there trying to earn himself. I believe he's almost definitely going to want P1 worth of championship points here, just to guarantee the maximum prize pool he can obtain after a weak start to the Cup, coming in strong in the second half.
And the front three pulling all of a gap already, as there is nothing between these three though. You can see they were all trying to decide whether they wanted to go down the inside to turn number 2, but they were so even, there wasn't an opportunity on this occasion. Ben Stewart though, he's third in the championship and doing everything he needs to do, holding it out in front. Possibly needs a mistake from the other two drivers, but all he can do is he just head down and try and get maximum points, and that is the position he's put himself at the moment. As it starts to sort of spread out a little bit over the top of the mountain. Not really many overtaking opportunities up here. You just need to make sure you're close in behind and ready to come out of Forest Elbow with the best exit and line it up down at the straight.
I mean, we've seen Sabo and Dove battle before, and sometimes it takes an entire track before they even go for the battle. And so if Ben Stewart can force them to fight behind him, that's fantastic. But unfortunately, it looks like Brandon Dove, he's more intent on overtaking Ben Stewart's position. He's closing the gap on him ever sooner. He's also pulling ahead away from Sabo, using the slipstream from Dove right down the straight. He's going to pull it into side by side. Is he going to challenge him on the inside? Overtakes his position. Can he hold it through the turns? Is going to be ending up on the outside here. Is this going to be the winning play by Ben Stewart? He pulls ahead, keeps ahead, and still keeps his position out in front place. Brandon Dove not able to take that opportunity, but you can see him looking for it.
Great drive from Ben Stewart to hold on to the lead there. We saw just how powerful that slipstream was. It was great to be on board. See the extra speed he picked up down that straight, got right up alongside him, but Ben Stewart holding the inside line. Great defending, and they both made it around the corner cleanly. So easy when you're in a side-by-side battle like that to just brake a little bit too late, wanting to brake later than the other guy, ending up overshooting the corners. As again, Ben Stewart is going to have to defend into turn number 2, and the fight is on here for the lead. Again, that long straight is giving that little bit of slipstream, that little bit of extra speed around the outside. So we saw Sabo struggling, and again, it's going to be struggling that Sabo might capitalize. He's going to try and get up alongside, and Brandon Dove might go from trying to make it overtaking loose and losing a spot. It's hard to do it side by side through here, though. It's so tight. Oh, and they're going to get away with it, and they're going to get through great driving from both of them.
Yeah, a really risky place to make these plays, because, like you said, you know, these tight walls are going to make any kind of mistakes very devastating, could even affect the race behind you if you're not careful. And so for them to pull this out, even recover well when things don't go their way, very impressive from all three of these drivers today. All very hungry for these championship points. Ben Stewart, probably the most pressure he's had on him all cup. And he's doing incredibly well. Of course, only 3 laps in, but it is a long lap. We're down to the second half of lap 3, going downhill, and this is also another one where the dynamic changes. After the control is done though, we're down to the slipstream here on the straight. And Brandon Dove, we saw him go for it before against Ben Stewart. No reason he won't do the same here.
Yeah, we might see a repeat. We can see him closing in under slipstream. Ben Stewart's going to take the same line. He's thinking about the inside line for the chase, but it's going to be the outside. And Brandon Dove, in fact, has already passed, defends that inside line. You can see him just cover it off straight away. Late on the race, he's getting a stop tour just about. But this time, Brandon Dove has emerged ahead. He's taken the lead, and now Ben Stewart's going to have to defend again, because here comes Sabo. Oh no, he's just managed to tuck it in front of him. Take the racing line through the final corner.
Yeah, it looked like that little nub up with Brandon Dove could have been enough for Sabo to slip in, steal away P2, but he'll leave it for now. And Ben Stewart, you know, slipping in there just to make sure that door is shut. But great moves by Brandon Dove to overtake as leader of the race. But of course, that opportunity is always going to be there for Ben Stewart as long as he can keep pace with Brandon Dove here, doesn't let him speed away too hard, then he'll be able to have his own opportunity at the same thing back on the straight. We'll have to keep up here on the uphill battle, the uphill section of Bathurst. But half a second away, it's certainly not impossible. But if that gap gets any bigger, then Brandon Dove might just shoot away.
Yeah, Brandon had the pace to make the overtake. Now does he have the pace to pull out a lead in front? You can see all these cars sort of fourth place closing back in. So I wonder if this battle is just slowing these guys down just a little bit as they're having to focus on the other drivers rather than focusing on the track and the uphill racing line. Sabo looking like he's got heaps of speed over the top of the mountain though. He is putting a lot of pressure onto Ben Stewart here.
Yeah, a lot of trust in him as well with how close he was. Moving downhill now. Again, back to where we've got to control. Mistakes can be pretty devastating here, and you can see most of them just trying to fight for survival here, going downhill. But back out on the straight, it's where the interesting part's going to be. How close has Ben Stewart stuck to Brandon Dove? Can he get the slipstream? Because Monkey Matt, that gap has doubled since I was last talking about it. I think Brandon Dove has managed to speed away and avoid any contest, at least for a few laps.
Yeah, he's doing everything he needs to do in the lead, and this is going to be tough if you're sitting there as Antel Rafael Sabo. He feels like he will be feeling like he's got the pace because he's been putting the pressure on Ben. But as you see the gap open up to the leader, it's just so tough to watch that extend, and he knows that he wants to get past as soon as he can, try and close back in. But then through the chase, they have actually closed in a few tenths again. So a bit of back and forth.
And speaking of closing, Michael Healy's now caught up to that top 3 pack. And so that should be, I think I saw someone go off into the pits, not sure who that was. But either way, Michael Healy now up in that battle. Dylan Jordan a little bit further back, but Michael Healy, definitely a driver who wants these championship points again. He's up there in the money, wants to get extra positions. Every point here could be literally hundreds of dollars to Michael Healy. So to now have caught up is going to be very fantastic for him.
All the drivers are slowing down, so I wonder if we are seeing safety car? Is that a safety car come out in front? We did see the driver go into the pits, I believe. So Darren Lobb and Hugo Allen, it looks like, have gone into the pits. So yeah, safety car out on track. You can see the yellows at the top left. And everyone slow down. This is going to neutralize the race for a minute here. And hopefully we'll get word of what has happened.
Oh, it turns out it was Nathan Anderson causing this safety car. I wonder what happened there. The only details we've got is that it was a car crash. But man, that's putting him out of the race. And unfortunately, my guy to watch may have gone a little too aggressive here. You know, like we were saying, he's not up there in the money yet, so put his complete risk into the track. And I guess sometimes this happens, but if you're not in the money, then, well, I guess everyone else has to do the safety car lap. And that's all not really a problem for you anymore. So yeah, no, unfortunately for Nathan Anderson, he was a fun driver to watch, but that should put him out of the competition now. As well as it seems Darren Lobb as well. Must have been a victim out of that too. So a bit rough for that guy as well. However, like you said, Matt, this is neutralizing the race here. Do you think this is going to give a chance for someone like Michael Healy, Dylan Jordan to now like make their own plays, push up ahead. Matt Stevens has been creeping up too.
Yeah, Matt Stevens creeping up to 6th and right in behind Dylan as well. So he's doing everything he needs to do from a championship perspective. That's where he needs to sit. Just needs to be within 6 positions of Dylan Jordan and not too far down the order in terms of leading spots to Ben Stewart. But at the moment, sitting pretty. And yeah, this is really just brought everyone back to close together. We were talking about the gaps between drivers and who was opening up gaps, but now it's all thrown out the window. There's no gaps between anyone, and just like the start of the race, this is a prime chance to try and gain positions. It's also sort of a chance where people take risks and then might end up having another incident. But it's really cool that we can have the safety car here in iRacing out on track, and we can get rid of any blockages from the crashed cars that might have been in the way, particularly over the mountain that can cause dramas. So looks like it's all clear. Safety car lights have gone out and he's pulling away, and now it's up to Brandon Dove to control the field, and then we'll be back racing when we cross the line this time.
Yeah, I think this is someone that suffers a little bit from the safety car, is Brandon Dove. We were just talking about how he may have extended the gap just enough to basically never worry about a battle again, but now that's not the case. Now he's going to have Ben Stewart back on his tail, who he recently overtook, by the way. Sabo as well, still in the mix, who's always a terrifying driver to have challenging you. Michael Healy, Dylan Jordan have caught up as well. So like anything can happen all the way back to even those drivers. So Brandon Dove, unfortunately for him, that second of split time that he earned is now gone. And he's going to have to find a way to earn it back.
And now, yeah, it's gone. It's down to 1/10 at the moment because Ben Stewart is hustling him, as they drive slowly, waiting for the green flag. He does not want to lose any time on this restart. So we head around the final corner. They're going to get away. You can see Brandon Dove puts the foot down, tries to open up a gap. He's going to head down into the first corner once again, and he should be safe as they head into turn number 1. In the background, some other drivers thinking about making a move. But here we go. Has Ben Stewart reset after losing that lead a few laps ago? It was coming under pressure from Sabo, but now mental reset. Can he attack and try and get that lead back?
Yeah, it's one thing to defend from first place, but it's an entirely different thing to try and overtake the first place driver. So credit to Brandon Dove for managing to do that. Ben Stewart, this is a different challenge for him, and we'll have to see if he can do it. Again, like I have to keep bringing it up, he's gonna have Sabo on his tail, a very scary driver to basically be forcing you to deal with him rather than overtaking first place. So Ben Stewart, like we said, he needs basically every single position he can get, and then a little bit of luck with Matt Stevens being pushed in, and he can win the competition, but he really needs it to go pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. He can't control what happens to Matt Stevens. Like you say, he does need a bit of luck, but he can control what he does out on track, and that's what he'll be focused on throughout this race, I'm sure of it, as he tries to get that lead back. But losing a little bit of time, and Sabo seems to be the one, once again, putting the pressure on in that green MRP car, right tucked in behind Ben Stewart. Oh, but he taps the wall. He tapped the wall down the forest out there. And that could have easily been steering or anything like that. I think he's got away with it. It might have just cost him a couple of tenths down the straight this time, but you don't want to be doing that too often.
Yeah, but a couple of tenths might even mean no slipstream. I think he has just caught up to get that slipstream, but a lot later than he would have hoped for a little bit. Won't have any chance of contesting here. You'll see he's just going single file. But if he hadn't got that little tap out of Forrest's elbow, he could have been contesting Ben Stewart for second place there. Might even still be looking to do it.
Sends it down the inside of the final corner, aggressive move, and he might have fallen in deep on the brakes though. And on the exit, Ben has got a better exit now down the inside into turn number 1. Ben should be able to take this position back. And that wants to hold it around the outside. It's squeezed a little bit, and all this fighting is just letting Brandon Dove drive away in the lead. But nevertheless, we love to see it because this is all on. And Michael Healy wants to get amongst it as well. Look at him coming in that slipstream in the background.
They are coming in hard here on the uphill battle of Bathurst. Michael Healy looking in, but you've got to imagine Sabo is too. Nothing to challenge here on turn 2. So I don't think we're actually going to see too much contest coming uphill from the rest of these guys here. It's just a little bit too tight for the overtaking around here. maybe having to look for a little bit of downhill or back onto the straight out of Forest Elbow. But at the moment, yeah, turn 2 was really the go for Sabo. Didn't manage to get it, but look at how hot he is on the tail of Ben Stewart. A 1/10 of a second behind him for most of the time, even increasing that gap from them and Michael Healy, which will do wonders for Sabo, who doesn't have to worry about Healy, maybe even for the slipstream coming up on the straight.
Yeah, these two drivers really going well over the top of the mountain. Healy maybe hasn't quite got the best of it this time around, and he's dropped, you know, those few extra tenths back, which makes all the difference. But now Sabo is so close in behind. He's got the slipstream, and surely this is going to be an opportunity heading down into the chase. He pulls out. Big Stewart seems to like taking that outside line through the kink, which ends up being the inside for the main part of it. But I think Sabo might get past. He has done. Pulls across to cover the inside, and Sabo's got the move done up into second place.
A nice early overtake, and that's kind of the difference, right? If you don't tap the corner as you leave Forest Elbow, you can make those slipstream pulls so much easier, so much earlier, before even the main overtake opportunity, as you saw Sabo just do. Now, he's got a 2-second gap to catch up to Brandon Dove. I don't know if that's going to be possible. Bathurst is a long track. Anything can happen. But for now, the battle, of course, is going to be defending against Ben Stewart, maybe even creating a big enough gap so that the slipstream is not an issue for Sabo either.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Sabo, you know, he looked like he had more pace sitting in behind Ben Stewart, but what's that just slipstream helping it out? Or does he have some pace to try and put down now and try and catch up to Brandon Dove? These next couple of laps, I think, are going to be crucial. How much dent he can make and whether he can pull away from Ben Stewart in behind. Up over this mountain, can he open a gap before they head back onto Conrod Straight for the next time?
Yeah, again, like not too many passing opportunities here. It's just going to be about keeping pace with Antal. I think that's going to be, you know, the main challenge, right? Is you know that his lap time is some of the best, if not the best, in the whole competition. And so, you know, that alone means it's hard to keep up with the man, let alone even battle him and try and overtake. You want to be at least within 400 milliseconds to try and go for any of these slipstream plays on Conrod Straight. But, you know, Ben Stewart, he's only barely holding on to that, and even then losing it slightly. So unless he catches up to Antal very quickly here, Ben Stewart's not getting a good opportunity here on Conrod's.
Yeah, it just looked like it was going to settle down for this lap, but further back in the pack, it is still all go for the minor positions. You love to see it. Back and forth battling. It's Hugo. Comes through the field from the back of the pack. He's up into 10th now, so mega drive so far from him. He wants to try and make more positions as well.
Yeah, I'm sure the safety car really helped out him as well. Once it evened everyone back up, but big performance from him. No, wow. Someone going completely out, and Mandela Pluck, a victim of this one as well. Gonna try and recover, but I wonder what the go is on that. Look at him, he is all kinds of messed up.
Yeah, he was way out on the grass in the braking zone. It looked like he sort of just did it to himself a little bit there. Maybe he got spooked at Hugo overtaking him. Oh, there's cars off the track, Enrique on the final corner, and I really thought that was going to be a bigger spin. I'm impressed that they managed to gather it up and keep that going again, to be honest.
We're going to need another safety car.
You know, doing donuts.
I mean, hopefully we don't get another safety car. I think they've cleaned up their mess pretty quickly. So I think they're going to be all right. But yeah, middle of the pack, apparently where all of the entertainment is happening. But, you know, the real winner out of that one, Hugo Allen, again, 2 more positions up the field from the back of the pack after not setting a qualifying lap. Very, very impressive performance to make it this far up. He's got some real competition now. Hamish Cleland, not someone we normally see in the top 8, but once he gets past him, it is all the big names. Matt Stevens will be the first battle. And if you're someone like Ben Stewart or Brandon Dove, you're hoping Hugo Allen goes for that battle against Matt Stevens and pushes him down.
Yeah, so an update from the stewards as well. Henry, car 10, got a drive-through penalty. So he was battling further up the further up the order earlier on. But, you know, that mid-pack battle we were just watching, and apparently there was some action really odd in the race as well. It's been going on for a while between them.
back to the front of the pack, and now you can see the gap much, much wider. Antal, out of reach. Brandon Dove, out of reach. Ben Stewart and Michael Healy, still definitely in a little bit of battles, but Ben Stewart just not able to catch up for the slipstream anymore. We'll have to shave off time against Sabo, but we know how good Sabo is on his consistent lap time, so Stewart, he may have to just settle for P3 at this point, and even that is going to be a hard battle with Healy and Jordan not too far behind as well on his tail.
Healy looks like he's starting to come on strong. We saw it in the second half of the first race tonight, that Healy really fired up and started gaining positions, and now it looks like it might be a repeat here in race number 2, because he is hot on the heels of Ben Stewart and looking like he's not far away from creating a battle there and getting amongst someone to make an overtake. But out the front, Brendan Dove has actually got the fastest lap of the race. I saw that pop up a couple of laps ago. So we thought Sabo might be able to push and catch up, but Brendan Dove has an answer. He responded with the fastest lap and pulling away in the lead now over 3 seconds.
Yeah, the best times we've seen Sabo and Dove's rivalry is when they are neck and neck. But now they're at different times, essentially just setting time trial laps. It's actually very impressive to see, yeah, Brandon Dove. But what's Sabo up to?
Sorry, I just saw Sabo clip the wall again. I don't know if maybe that was a connection thing, because he didn't seem to lose too much time, but yeah, he is really on the limit, just wringing the neck out of that and giving it everything he can, getting right up next to these walls. And so many of the drivers are, but yeah, maybe no one gets too close. You know, a couple of extra centimeters, you hit that fence and it can be all over so quickly.
But that is maybe something to talk about, right? Is that we've seen Sabo absolutely throw a race in the bin thanks to penalties. And so if he is pushing the track to its absolute limits, as you might do in the final track, right, we could see a return to, I don't know, the villain Sabo phase where he was, you know, throwing races out thanks to penalties. So, you know, Sabo, I mean, second place might look good at the moment, but let's hope that he doesn't get any penalties here. Ben Stewart, of course, will be hoping for that. Although now he's even got his own opportunity. Now that he's caught up, he could be overtaking. Maybe those wall taps also helping out Ben as well, able to catch up to Sabo now.
Yeah, it's close in this battle, the second once again. And it seems to be that is Sabo's approach to driving. He is just full 100% commitment all the time, never backs off at all. And so far this season, it's sort of been win or bust from him. And at the moment, he's close to bust a couple of times in this race, but still holding on to second place and getting a great exit out of turn number 1. You'd think Ben Stewart would have a chance to go through the slipstream down the straight, but no. You get a bit of exit like the way Sabo did, sort of cuts off that opportunity.
Yeah, and I reckon Ben Stewart, oh, a little bit of a tap there. I think they're going to be all right, Ben Stewart, but yeah, when you get to Conrod straight, that's really Ben Stewart's best opportunity, but again, like as that split time slips further and further away, like, I don't know, even 800, 700 milliseconds might just be a bit much. And again, as I always say, Healy right on your tail. Healy can be making the slipstream plays into Conrod, so this is now probably the thing we want to watch as we come downhill. Once we leave it out of Forest Elbow straight into Conrod straight, that's going to be where Michael Healy's going to look to make the play on Ben Stewart. We've seen Michael Healy go for some pretty great battles, overtaking even 2 positions at once in Phillips Island. Will he do the same here against Ben Stewart? Will he be able to catch up to him for the slipstream and make a play? I think he is just a little too far out. And I think that just shows the importance of your exit from Forest Elbow.
Absolutely. He didn't get a good run on this occasion, and you can see he hasn't able to close that gap and get close enough to make any sort of move. So really needs to be setting himself up for a great exit out of Forest Elbow and potentially a great exit out of turn 1, because you can see through the chase, he has closed into the corner. So if you can get it out of turn 1, that might be an opportunity as well. But yeah, it's really about getting onto those straights, the most momentum possible, and try and use that to get past the cover in front, because as we've been talking about, over the top of the mountain, it's a chance to sort of pull away from the driver, but it's not really a chance to overtake it. It's down the bottom here, but you need to get that done.
Yeah, Michael Healy may have to wait a little longer on the track to get another position, but only 5 laps to go, Monkey Matt. Of course, they're long laps, so it could feel like there's a lot of time to do it, but we know Bathurst is a track where there just isn't as many overtaking opportunities, so they're going to have to look to do it one step at a time throughout these last few laps, because it's the last chance they're getting in this competition. There is nothing else after Bathurst. This is your last chance to lock in those points, and there are so many up there in that top 6 battle where the cash prize is. That's going to be where it's all about. On board with Michael Healy, someone who wants a little bit of that cash prize, and I've been saying every position here in Bathurst could be worth literally hundreds of dollars. So Michael Healy against Ben Stewart, that's what it could mean to them.
Yeah, and Michael Healy is against Ben Stewart in the championship as well. They're fighting for 3rd place as it would stand at the moment. So if Michael can get past, he moves up a spot and gets more prize money. So that is, you know, this is all on. This is going to go right down to the wire. They'll be pushing to try and claim those positions. So,
yeah,
they're 1 point apart going into this race. So if he gets past, they'll be level on points, and Michael Healy would actually take it on countback if he has got 1 race win.
And that's the really fun thing about who's tracking what, right? Because there are going to be some drivers that are tracking every single championship point, even between races on the night, and know, okay, this one battle I'm in is worth this many points. And so you've got to hope for Michael Healy's sake that he's one of those drivers doing exactly that. So that he knows that this battle could just mean that much if he can just beat Ben Stewart.
Yeah, it's always an interesting mindset thing as well, because some drivers maybe don't want to know. They don't want to put that extra pressure on their back. They just want to go out there and race and take every position they can, because if you're in Michael Healy's spot right now, you know, you want to push as much as you can, but at the same time, if you try and push and you overstep it, you're just going to go backwards. So there's that mental balance and fortitude that really comes into it towards the pointy end of a championship, and it being the last race, it's all on now. The pressure is at the max.
Yeah, those laps are getting less and less. Fewer opportunities for anyone to squeeze in a few more championship points. A little tight here by Michael Healy, but there's just no room to make an overtake uphill or even downhill on Mount Panorama. Just too tight. He's going to have to wait until the straight to have a real go at it. But he's going to have to keep pace at the same time against Ben Stewart. No contest from behind by Dylan Jordan, Matt Stevens, even Hugo Allen, who's much further back, actually, from Matt Stevens. So actually this top 6...
Hugo Allen has moved up into 7th position. He was 6 seconds behind, so he's got a second, close in a second towards Matt Stevens, but you know, that's a lot. That's a big gap for him to try and work his way through. It's been a great drive from the back of the grid, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to close it and get many more from there. But Matt Stevens and Dylan Jordan, that is the championship as we take a look at Hugo Allen. But yeah, that is the championship battle ahead of him if he can close in that miracle gap.
Yeah, so what's the deal between Matt Stevens and Dylan Jordan on points, right? Because Matt Stevens is still the front runner. So as long as he beats...
Oh no! Oh, it's the big one! Oh, that's what you worry about. Contact between the two drivers. And Ben is in the fence. He is probably gone now.
Look at his car, it's munted. It's gone. Lucky Matt.
The chase.
There's no way he's going to be able to come back from that. He's going to have to pit, surely. Because, I mean, it's a complete mess.
Oh.
He's going to keep going.
Devastation. He tried to defend the line down into the chase, but the driver behind, Michael Healy, I believe it was, got in the back of him under brakes, and he is out. And that is such a shame for the Sim Blacks driver there. Ben Stewart, who was looking really strong, and now is, you know, he's going to be a sitting duck. He's not going to be able to hold many positions because look at how much damage has gone on there.
Yeah, even his car looks sad at the result of that. I don't know, do you pit after something like that? Is the visual damage just not as much as the actual damage in this case? Because
yeah, sometimes that can be the case where it looks worse than it is, but given that he's just lost that spot and he's struggling a little bit here. 3 laps to go though, he'll probably just carry on. If he can keep the car going, probably just carry on. If it stops, really puts you out of the race anyway, so I think that is real unfortunate for him, and it's definitely one that I think the stewards are going to be investigating, because it was contact between two drivers that caused that, and they'll need to look and decide who is to blame there. And it was a championship battle, so it's, you know, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on that one after the race and a lot of discussion, I'm so sure.
Well, I'm sure Antal Rafael Sabo is wiping the sweat from his brow, knowing he was not involved in that at all. Too far ahead to have another penalty thrown at him. So he should be looking to finish fine on his position, get the 23 points. I'm sure he wanted the 24, wanted to get the 4th win of the championship, winning half the races. But Brandon Dove kind of has his number here on Bathurst, so not going to happen. Another kind of victor out of all the shenanigans that just happened, Matt Stevens, 5th place now, right on the tail of Dylan Jordan. Here's a championship battle.
Somehow, he is managing to keep this run going of top 5 finishes. He started this race down in 8th, and now he finds himself in 5th spot. Is Michael Healy coming into the pit? So is he serving a penalty, perhaps?
That could be the call from before against Ben Stewart. We'll have to get an update on that, but how does this leave everything? So Dylan Jordan now in 3rd, Matt Stevens still on his tail. I mean, Matt Stevens, with this position alone, I think will lock in the championship, right? I mean, who else is close enough? I mean, Ben Stewart fell down. Hugo Allen is on his tail, but would need to overtake him. Dylan Jordan needs more than 1 point.
Exactly. Matt Stevens is in the box seat now. It's Dylan Jordan who he's fighting in the championship, but Dylan Jordan is 6 points behind, and Matt might even get him on track as well. It's going to be a close battle here. Can he find a way through? Because it was a little bit of a mistake from Dylan there. But yeah, for Dylan to take the championship, he needs to beat Matt by 6 positions, and that is looking very unlikely so long as Matt can get through the final couple of laps nice and cleanly. So he is in the box seat. Take this one away, and this is maybe one of the spots where you do want to know what the championship standings is if you're Matt Stevens, because he doesn't need to take the spot, he doesn't need to push too hard. He can bring it home safely in 4th, and he will take the championship without having won a single race.
And without having dropping below 5th, that's actually quite impressive when you think about it as well. The consistency is insane and shows its results as well. Once he walks out of here, $700 richer, unless some kind of miracle happens. 2 laps left. We're likely, with Brandon Dove much further up, to be hitting that final lap any second now. But Matt Stevens, does he push it past Dylan Jordan just for that little bit of extra bragging right? He's looking to see if he can go for this battle. He goes in onto the inside. He can end up still on the inside track here, but then over on the second turn here, pulls ahead and moves into 3rd position beyond Dylan Jordan.
Brilliant move there from Matt, and he is showing why he is in the lead of the championship. Just tidily gets it down the inside, gets the car stopped, no dramas, and just nicely done as we head onto the final lap. He holds on to 3rd position.
And I think you look at the leaderboard right now for Bathurst, and it kind of tells a story about how the rest of the championship has gone. Brandon Dove and Antal Rafael Sabo, they've been up there in 1st and 2nd quite often, but the consistent driver, not 1st, not 2nd on Bathurst, looking to come in 3rd. His consistent results are going to place him at the top of the leaderboard for the championship, getting him 1st place. Of course, he's going to have to finish his final lap, but a victory lap for Brandon Dove, a victory lap for Sabo, and one for Stevens as well for the championship as a whole. They've done spectacularly on Bathurst, all 3 of them here today.
Absolute top pace here from Brandon Dove. No one had an answer. Once he got out in front, he was able to put down the fastest lap times of the field. Pull a gap now over 3.5 seconds, just slowly eking it out across the race, and he has not put a foot wrong. Brilliant drive from Brandon Dove as he heads down Conrod Straight for the final time. Only a few more corners to go to claim his 1st race win of the season in the final race of the season.
Yeah, that's actually another thing, right? You would think Brandon Dove has won before, but penalties have taken that away from him. So this will be his 1st official win on the day. So Brandon Dove, very stoked with this one. Final lap here for the final track of the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Championship. Brandon Dove will take out Bathurst in pole position. Antal, Rafael Sabo, close behind in second position. But third position, it might be third on Bathurst, but it will be enough points to crown Matt Stevens the champion of the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Cup.
Oh, they battle it down to the final corner, but there he goes, crosses the line with his teammate behind him. Matt Stevens takes third place and takes home the championship. Congratulations to him. And somehow, has Hugo managed to pull up to fourth position? What a huge drive to come through the field.
Yeah, Hugo from literally the back of the grid, pulling up to fourth. So cannot understate his drive either. I think he's had a fantastic day here on both tracks, you know, Phillip Island as well. So Hugo should be very proud. Hopefully he ends up stacking up pretty well on the leaderboard too. I know he was up there. So with his high finishing placings on both of these two tracks, he should be up there in the prize money too. Dylan Jordan also with the 5th place finish should end up pretty high. And then going down further from that, I believe, who else would be looking at? Ben Stewart, but he ended up getting kicked out. So maybe with no points from Bathurst, that could kick him out.
Yeah, so just confirmation as well that Michael Healy did actually pick up a drive-through penalty for causing that collision. So he dropped down the order as well. So they were second and third in the championship, so it might be mixed up a little bit, and we'll have to hang on and get the calculators out as we'll get confirmation of the championship results a bit later. But here are the race results, as it was Brendan Dove with a dominant win. Congratulations to him. Antal Rafael Sabo in second place, another great drive and showing his pace. But Matt Stevens, third place, top 5 once again, takes home the championship. Congratulations to him, and confirmation, Hugo Allen getting up to 4th from the back of the grid. So imagine if he had got the qualifying time, he would have been able to put a fight for the lead, I imagine. But then it's Dylan Jordan who should take home 2nd place in the championship. He came home 5th in the end of that race as they celebrate and go over the bump there at Bathurst in the background.
Yeah, further down the pack as well. Oh, upside down as well in the background. But yep, just looking at the rest of the leaderboard here, Ben Stewart, the one unfortunate one coming out of here. Michael Healy as well. Getting sent out. Really unfortunate for those two drivers there. Would have loved these few last minute points, but we do have it all confirmed. It's all been locked and loaded. Matt Stevens is the winner of the Samsung iRacing New Zealand Cup. Your champion standing right there. And man, he looks good in his racing getup.
Isn't that just such a fitting photo to have as your winning photo there, in the race suit and everything? So he's got that real world experience, and he's proven in the sim he's plenty fast on the simulator as well. So congratulations to him. As you say, $700 prize money in his pocket, so that is huge.
Yeah, huge congratulations to him. We talked about consistency all 4 weeks, Monkey Matt, and I think this is proof of exactly why it's so important. Didn't finish a single race in 1st place, and yet comes out on top, $700 richer now. So Matt Stevens, huge performance for him. But of course, Monkey Matt, it's not all about the 1st place finish. It's about where everyone else placed as well. So like you were saying, Dylan Jordan, 2nd place by 8 points. Then 11 behind him, Ben Stewart, rough on that last one on Bathurst. Michael Healy as well had a rough one too. Could have placed a bit higher, 144 points. And then Sabo actually getting into the top 6, getting the 5th place with 123 points. And then Brad Jessen actually did get in the top 6 as well. So huge performance from these guys. Of course, a few no-shows today, you know, from Ewan Baker, for example, did push a few of these positions down. But there's our top 6, Monkey Matt. They're looking fantastic. Further down the leaderboard though, you know, a few casualties I'm probably gonna throw in there. Hugo Allen, you know, some unfortunate results, not even here on the 2nd week as well, missing those races. Could have been a different story. Nathan Anderson, another entertaining driver to watch. Could have been another story if things went another way. So definitely plenty of future talent to look out for, Monkey Matt. But I mean, for you coming into the season here, it's been 4 weeks of racing. We started with the 24 best drivers in New Zealand. What do you think of our top 6 now?
Oh, that was an amazing season. I love that it came right down to the wire. It was all on. And Matt Stevens, a deserving winner, mixed up in those top 6 as well, right at the end. So, yeah, huge. I loved watching it and commentating the whole time. So I really hope that we'll be having another season in the future because these drivers.
Yep, definitely look for more iRacing in the future. Sim racing is here in New Zealand and it's here to stay. So before we close things out, we've got a big shout out to our sponsor Samsung, who've been an absolute legend. It's been a lot of fun playing with the Odyssey Arc Action Station in between qualifying and the races. It's been a fantastic season. Monkey Matt, thank you so much for joining me here today. And of course, all of you at home, thank you for tuning in and enjoying the iRacing action here for the New Zealand Cup. I've been Matt Smite Ross, Monkey Matt as well. We'll see you guys all in the next competition. Have a great day.